What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Got to keep reminding myself that. Grind my gears Tuesday. Dan Kasper Show is on the air. Radio dials, a couple of those 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also online, you can catch us at sportstalk1051.com, stream it, or get the YouTube live video stream link there. Otherwise, you got the Sports Talk app in your Google and Alexa home devices. What up, everybody? Hopefully, you had a fantastic Labor Day weekend. If you were able to enjoy it, or if you were able to take some time off, but kind of feels like the end of summer now, doesn't it? I know it's not necessarily temperature-wise, but kind of, once we get to September and after Labor Day, everybody's in school. We got football starting up. College is already underway. High school, obviously, a few weeks into it already. This week, we kick off the NFL season in just a couple of days. Thursday night, we get Buffalo and the Rams. Rams defending Super Bowl champs. Buffalo, a lot of people's favorite to go to the big dance, or I should say the big game, and win the whole thing. So what a fantastic first matchup right away. But to help us break down the upcoming NFL season, we will be chatting with our good friend, NFL insider extraordinaire, Mr. Peter King, Football Morning in America. He'll be hopping on around 7:20 this morning, so it'll be good to catch up with him. If you haven't checked out his latest column, he does have Buffalo versus the Packers in his Super Bowl prediction. So we'll get to that. But first, let's do the scripted plays here. Brewers, we've got, I think we can kind of, 7.5 back now in the division. I mean, the Cardinals are just hot. You ain't going to catch them. But Brewers getting a little bit of help after a blah. I mean, terrible series against the Diamondbacks, losing that series. They're able to get some help, though, thanks to the Phillies and especially mostly the Phillies and the Padres. They've lost their last 3 in a row. But Brewers picking up the win yesterday. So they still remain just 2 back from the Phillies and the Padres in the wild card chase. But we just got 28 more games left to go for the Brew Crew here. So, I mean, final month-ish coming up here. You've got this series against Colorado. The doubleheader against the Giants. Back at home. Then Cincinnati. And then next week, maybe the defining stretch when you start that 2-game series against the Cardinals, and you got the Yankees, and you got the Mets. Maybe that defines it there. I don't know, but I feel like a lot of fans are starting to check out now, especially, we got football season. Badgers picking up the win over against Illinois State, so they're underway. We got the Packers starting this weekend, but I mean, Brewers are still in it. I think we're just all kind of frustrated that we're talking about trying to get a playoff spot when wasn't that long ago we thought it was going to be another division, at least getting into the postseason for another year. And I think that frustration is just kind of settling in, or it has settled in, and people are just starting to check out. Fans are starting to check out a little bit. But if they get to the postseason, I'm sure we'll all be paying attention, be watching. Maybe don't have a whole lot of high expectations for them. I'll tell you, I don't have a whole lot of expectations if they do get into the postseason. But yes, never say never. If you can get to the postseason, maybe something can happen. Maybe a little bit of a magical run. Who the heck knows? But if they do get there, I'm cheering for them. I'm still cheering for them. I hope that they get to the postseason again. But I just get the feeling that we're all kind of like a little chilled right now, especially when you lose. I mean, credit to the Diamondbacks. Their pitching was pretty darn good in that series with the Brewers. And, well, now you got to cheer for the Diamondbacks because they're going up against the Padres right now. So, I don't know. But Brewers back at it today, or I should say tonight. Got Woodruff on the mound for the Brew Crew at 7:40 first pitch. So coverage will begin about 35 minutes beforehand. Next up on the scripted play, as we've just mentioned here just a little bit ago, the Badger football team taking care of business against Illinois State, 38-0. 38-0. So, I mean, kind of doing what they should have done, right? kind of doing what ranked opponent going up against Illinois State should do. I know leading up to the game, we're like, are they even going to cover? Because it was about 30, was 32, depending on which site you were looking at. It's like, are they going to cover? Is this going to be, maybe like a 31-10 game or something like that? But Badgers did their thing. They covered. Graham Mertz was effective, 14 of 16, 219 yards, 1 touchdown. Braylon Allen, 14 carries, 148 yards for a pretty solid 10.6 average, 2 rushing touchdowns. Boost up those stats, maybe get a little bit more Heisman love somewhere around there. But the main thing I take away is that they did their job. They did what they were supposed to do. But we'll chat more with RJ Cardinal coming up a little couple hours from now, about 8:20, to recap that victory from Saturday night and to kind of take a look at the college football landscape after, I guess it's technically week 1 now, but a couple weeks for some teams out there. But now Wisconsin's getting set for Washington State coming up on Saturday. So, but this was our first glimpse with Ingram as the offensive coordinator. I don't know. I guess let me ask you all: what do you take away from that game with the Badgers? Do you really take anything away besides they did what they were supposed to do or what they should have done? Is there anything else that you kind of take away? I mean, how much stock do you put in Graham Mertz going 14 of 16 for 219, knowing it's Illinois State? Maybe you want to all right, let's see that against Big Ten teams. Let's see that against better competition or tougher competition. But maybe just building up a little bit of confidence in this first game. It was a little bit of unknown. Ingram coming in, first-time offensive coordinator and such. So, but hey, did what they were supposed to, got the job done, got the W. So, we are going to continue moving on to our next play. We're going to be continuing our division previews in the NFL as we are just a couple of days away from kickoff here. We're going to play a little catch up because, well, we missed a couple divisions from at the end of last week. So we're going to play a little catch up. We're going to double down here. We're going to take a look at the AFC West and the NFC West. NFC West defending champs. You got the Rams in there. You got the Cardinals. You got the 49ers. You got the Seahawks. AFC West, perhaps at least right on paper, I think a lot of people would probably say that the AFC West is the deepest division in all of football. You've got the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders, Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos. Forgot it was a brain fart right there. I'm curious, who do you have coming out of the AFC West? Are you still going to go with the Chiefs in this thing? Are you going to go with the Broncos with their new quarterback and Russell Wilson? Are you going to go with the Raiders with Devontae pairing up with his college buddy, Derek Carr? Are you going to go with the Chargers with, another year with Justin Herbert? Maybe he didn't play up. I thought they were going to be a playoff team last year, a sneaky playoff team last year. They got close. They added some more to their defense. Remember Khalil Mack's over there. Can the Chargers make that jump? How many postseason teams come from the AFC West? I mean, this AFC West division potentially, could be a top team, the best team, second best team in the whole conference, in the AFC conference, but maybe this division just beats up on each other and the record doesn't reflect that. It could be maybe a 10-7 record or 11-6 record. They may be, whoever wins that division could be the best team or the second best team, depending on where you have Buffalo. But because that division is so deep, they may beat up on each other there a little bit and might see that reflected in the standings. So we'll hit that up. Obviously, we're going to talk some green and gold here. Kind of curious what's going on. There's two things that have kind of popped up in the last few days. One, we don't know the Allen Lazard injury, why he's being held out of practice. He's doing some rehab. Matt LaFleur being very coy about it. So I'm a little bit nervous about that with his availability for this Sunday's game against Minnesota. But we'll see. Maybe it's just a little, gentleman's strategy, gamesmanship from Matt LaFleur, being very quiet about it. Packers don't have to really say what it is until Wednesday with the first injury designation coming out. Uh, and then Elton Jenkins, remember last week he sat out of practice and then very, again, kind of coy about what exactly he was going through. They said it wasn't his knee. He was back at practice. But now it kind of seems like David Bakhtiari is ahead of Elton Jenkins in returning to the field. For the longest time, it seemed like it was going to be Elton, but our good friend Rob Demovsky, with the piece yesterday, saying that he talked a little bit to David Bakhtiari, and Bakhtiari had been doing team drills ever since the end of training camp, which, you go from individual drills when you come off the pup or come back from an injury, and then you move up to team drills. And from what we know, again, after training camp, Green Bay, reporters don't have as much access, not as many eyes there. But Bakhtiari said after training camp, he's been a part of the 11-on-11 team drills. And from what we know, Elton Jenkins hasn't yet. Maybe he has. But when LaFleur was asked about Jenkins' status, again, being very coy, we'll have to find out on Sunday, he said. Now, Bakhtiari says he's on track to start. Then he kind of, toned it down after the article came out and said just taking it day by day. But, I mean, from all accounts, from what we have to kind of go to what we have everything to base off of from what we're hearing, it kind of seems like Bakhtiari is a little bit ahead of Elton Jenkins. And again, it could just all be really like sportsmanship, kind of keeping it hush-hush, that sort of thing. But I don't know. But I'm feeling pretty good about Bakhtiari playing week one. A little bit nervous about what's going on with Allen Lazard, and maybe they're just being careful because they realize he's, receiver number one. And they don't want to, if he is dealing with something, they don't want to push it. So it would extend his amount of time being missed or potentially really push it to where he would miss time. Could be something there. Again, we'll find out a little bit more tomorrow when we see those practice or those injury reports. Start off on Wednesday. Then we get the game designations on Friday. So, they don't do the probables anymore. This is the questionables and doubtfuls and the outs and that sort of thing. So, but man, really, hopefully, Allen Lazard can get on that field. And I mean, I would really love Elton Jenkins and David Bakhtiari to be able to play going up against Darius Smith and Hunter and such. So, but hey, those are your scripted plays here this morning. Shout out to the Blue Golds too, getting a victory on Saturday. I know it's Tuesday here, but good to catch their games here on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM as well. So let's jump into it. So we've got we got a busy Tuesday. So Joe's going to join us at 6:40. We'll have Peter King at 7:20. We'll have RJ Cardinal at 8:20. So we got a full lineup. It is also a Grind My Gears Tuesday. So if you got something that's grinding your gears, hit us up with a text, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, or you can do it on Twitter, Facebook, and on the YouTube live stream as well. So let's jump into it, right? Let's get into it. We got kickoff week here, people. Let's do this. Let's talk some green and gold. Let's talk some football. Let's talk some division previews. We'll get to some Brewers chat too. I mean, are you starting to kind of phase out? I mean, it was the way Hauser started the game yesterday. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Luckily able to bounce back and hold on strong, and the Brewers were able to, the offense was able to help them out there a little bit, but just holding on to a little bit of hope. So I'm pumped. A lot going on. All right, let's take that first break. Main course coming up here. Let's take a quick break. Come on, computer. Catch up here a little bit. So, all right, quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes chatting a little football to kick things off here this morning. River Country Co-op wants to help you put some gas in your tank. It's the River Country Co-op Cenex Small Town Gas Pass giveaway. The River Country Co-op Cenex Small Town Gas Pass giveaway of the week is the Dorchester shot at the Dorchester over there and New Auburn stores. So check them out. Dorchester, New Auburn. That's your two locations for the River Country Co-op Cenex Small Town Gas Pass giveaway. All you have to do is stop on in and register to win a $50 gas card. No purchase necessary, but you're probably gonna load up on some snacks and some beverages and all that good stuff. So the two locations this week: Dorchester and Auburn. Auburn over there. All right, let's just jump into it right away. Oh, before I get too deep into the weeds here, Surveyor Sam has a request to you fellow listeners out there. So we've tried this a couple of times, but Surveyor really wants to get this thing going. So he wants a nickname for all the listeners out there, for all of our listeners, our group, okay? I know we toyed around with like bench warmers at one point and that sort of thing, but he threw out a couple suggestions. He likes sports junkies, so I could call you guys junkies every day. Okay. But if you got any other ones, as he said, we can make it a bracket and it's voted on by the listeners. So I'm passing it along to the rest of you out there. I'm passing along. If you have a suggestion I call ourselves a little family here, right? We got some dedicated, some passionate, some awesome people who listen, who contribute, big time contributors to the program. So what should we all call you? He's calling it like the junkies, Kasper's crew. I think he threw out there was one. What do you got? We're gonna come up with a list, and then we're gonna vote on it. As voted on by you, the people. Okay, play along with us. Surveyor is asking you all for some input. So text those babies on over. Or you can tweet it or Facebook it if you'd like. Okay. All right, it's kickoff week in the NFL. Main course. We're just going to jump into some division previews. I'm really curious. Don't forget, too, by the way, since it is kickoff week, head to our website, sportstalk1051.com. Click on the Nation tab. So if you're there, you got two things. One, the Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge. That's what we've done for the last couple of years, okay? Then it's the Survivor League. Now let's see how good you guys are. So they're free. Don't got to pay anything. But you just got to remember to make your picks every week. So I got to remember to do that myself. Okay? I got to remember to do that myself. So sportstalk1051.com, Nation tab. You've got two of them now. The regular Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge that just, whoever picks the most games correct in the season, we'll send you something. Then new this year, it's the Survivor League. So check it out. Get your picks in. Let's just jump into it. Looking at a couple divisions because we got to play a little bit of catch up here before we get to kickoff on Thursday. So the two divisions we're going to take a look at is the AFC West and the NFC West. And one of the questions that I'm really curious to hear from all of you is when you look at the AFC West, and I'm one of those too, you look at that division, you look at how deep it is, at least on paper, right? Who do you got coming out of the AFC West? You still going to ride with Kansas City? Do you think the Chargers take the jump this year? Do the Raiders with Devontae move them up another level? And Josh McDaniels, his new head coach. Denver, Nathaniel Hackett coming over from Green Bay, has Russell Wilson with him. Who do you got coming out? We'll put that up in a poll here in a little bit too, but that's kind of our DK question of the day. But let's start looking at the AFC West, then we'll go into the NFC West where the defending Super Bowl champs are. All right, Denver. Let's start off with them. Russell Wilson just got that brand new contract, big-time contract. Good piece, good insight from Peter King, too, in his Football Morning in America column about Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett, kind of like a bromance brewing between the two. Apparently Russell Wilson thinks Nathaniel Hackett is a football savant. So they're off to a really good start in their relationship, and that's what kind of led to the contract extension. But you're looking at it, you got Russell. It's an intriguing offense, right? You got Russell Wilson at quarterback. You've got Melvin Gordon and Williams. Williams is probably going to be running back number one, but they've got, a two-back system there. You got Cortland Sutton. You got Jerry Jeudy. Couple of solid wide receivers. I know Tim Patrick's on the IR, but you got Cortland Sutton. Jerry Jeudy has been a pick for a lot of people to kind of have a breakout year this year. Cortland Sutton, still pretty darn solid there. So you're looking at that. Russell Wilson's got some pieces. He's got some pieces around him. And, Billy Turner, former Packer, going over there to Denver to play right tackle too. So, and then you look on the defensive side of things. Bradley Chubb, Randy Gregory's coming over from Dallas. You've got Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons in the back end and the safety. Patrick Surtain, solid year as a rookie last year. Ronald Darby. I like a lot of pieces on this Denver team. I like a lot of it. My only question now is going to be the coaching staff, because the coaching staff, and I like Nathaniel Hackett. Obviously, the Packers loved him. Aaron Rodgers loved him. But the biggest thing to me is going to be, is that coaching staff ready to take that next jump? Is Nathaniel Hackett ready to take that jump? I know he was a play caller back in the day, but the last few years with Green Bay, it was Matt LaFleur. Is he ready for that next step? Defensive coordinator. Ready for that next step. A lot of guys elevating, getting promotions, moving up to coordinator positions. Are they ready to take that jump? Because I think they've got talent to compete. And if they were in another division, I might, I'd say you could probably make the case that they would be a solid playoff team. But the fact that Denver is playing in the toughest division in football, my biggest question to me is, can that coaching staff, can they rise to the challenge? Can they live up in the moment? Or are they going to, is it going to be kind of an up and down year, first time, calling plays, coordinators, that sort of thing? That to me is the biggest question. But I think if Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett are on the same page with play calling, you'd think it'd transition pretty darn smooth. You got the Raiders, Josh McDaniels coming over. I think he'll be better in his second stint as a head coach than his first stint with Denver. A little too young, a little inexperienced there. Obviously, we know with Devontae Adams and, pairing up with his buddy Derek Carr from college, joining a group that already had Hunter Renfrow, got Darren Waller at tight end. Defensively, they bring in Chandler Jones to pair up with Max Crosby. I like that one. But for me, the biggest question, you could say a little bit in the secondary for the Raiders too, but for me, one of the biggest questions is going to be the whole Derek Carr and Devontae Adams thing. Is it going to be where a lot of maybe some Packers fans were complaining that Aaron honed too much in on Devontae with this whole, and great, they're buddies, they're best friends, college teammates. But is it going to be a situation where Derek Carr focuses too much on Devontae then to try to get him the ball, where he's got options in Hunter? It's a good wideout. He's got options with Darren Waller. Great tight end when healthy. But is Derek Carr going to force it too much to his buddy Devontae? That to me is the big question here. I almost feel, Josh McDaniels has had some experience with, when Randy Moss was there and you had Wes Welker, kind of spreading it out there. He's also had experience where they haven't had a clear-cut number one wide receiver, but, with Brady and those Patriots teams spreading the ball out. Be really curious to see how that game plan is constructed with the Raiders. But is it going to be in Derek Carr's head? Got to get it to my guy, Devontae. Is he going to force it a little bit too much? That to me is the biggest question when it comes to the Raiders. Chargers were my team last year that I thought were going to make the postseason. And, they got close. 9-8 last year. Close in that final game with the Raiders. But a lot of excitement with this Chargers team again this year. Justin Herbert looks like one of the best or better younger quarterbacks in the league. Austin Eckler at running back. You got Keenan Allen. Him and Devontae are top 2 in route running. Mike Williams, solid wide receiver. Defensively, they've upgraded. They got Joey Bosa paired up with Khalil Mack now. Secondary, Derwin James. Big contract. Can he stay healthy? J.C. Jackson coming over from New England. I like a lot on this Chargers team. I do. But I also feel like this has got to be a year for the Chargers. If they don't make the postseason, I feel like there's going to be some rumblings. Could they already make a coaching change? Brandon Staley? I mean, there was already a rumor a couple months ago that if the Chargers don't do anything, could Sean Payton be an option? That apparently Sean Payton's eyeing the Cowboys and the Chargers jobs if they become open. But, I mean, there's a lot to like with this Chargers team. I thought they did some nice jobs upgrading that defense. I mean, they even got Kyle Van Noy as a backup linebacker, outside linebacker too. Kenneth Murray, inside back. And former Packer great J.K. Scott. Don't forget, he's punting over there too. So there's a lot to like. But for me, the biggest thing is, I think, again, is going to be coaching. Is the coaching staff. Kansas City, then. A lot of movements with Kansas City this year. Gone is Tyreek Hill. They bring in Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, draft Sky Moore. Travis Kelce's still there. I mean, and it's still Andy Reid over there on offense. To me, the biggest question, I know they lost Tyreek Hill, but to me, the biggest question is going to be still their defense and Steve Spagnuolo and that group over there. Are they going to have, I don't know if they'll have necessarily a top 10, but I mean, like an average defense. Chris Jones, obviously the big man up front. Leo Chanel, shout out Leo Chanel. They bring in Justin Reed, the Honey Badger. Tyrann Mathieu no longer there. I think there's questions surrounding this defense a little bit. And I know they drafted Karlaftis from Purdue to help out with rushing the passer, edge rusher. They got Frank Clark on there, Carlos Dunlap too. But are they going to be able to play some solid D? And they have to in this division. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, you're going up against Justin Herbert and those Chargers receivers and Austin Eckler, Denver and those receivers. You've got Denver with Russell Wilson and those receivers, the Raiders. There's some offensive weapons within this division. Can that Kansas City defense hold up against those other offenses within the NFC West? Can they do it? Because this is going to be a tough task, something that Kansas City, if you think about it, for the last couple of years, I mean, really hasn't had to worry about that much. I mean, yes, the Chargers kind of made a run a little bit, last year. Denver's had Derek Carr, Hunter Renfrow, and Darren Waller and such. Did I just say Denver? Raiders have had Derek Carr and Darren Waller and such, and Hunter Renfrow, and then Denver's had Judy and Sutton, but they never really had the quarterback there. I mean, it's always kind of been a mismatch within that division. But now it's like, all right, this is the first time I think in the last few years where Kansas City has really is going to be really challenged within this division. And I just don't know if they have the defense to do it. But, is Patrick Mahomes kind of like, oh, you still got Patrick Mahomes, though. So that's kind of the key with everything. With that all being said, I've kind of gone back and forth on this. I'm still going to pick Kansas City to win the division. I don't think you're going to see great records like a 12-5 record maybe 11-6 or a 10-7 for a division winner. I think they're going to get beat up pretty good. I think Kansas City wins the division. Chargers also go to the postseason. And it's going to be, but I think the Raiders and Denver also compete for a postseason spot. I think you could see 3 teams from this division go into the postseason. I think you could definitely see it. But for me, the top 2 teams in this division, Kansas City and the Chargers. I want to like the Chargers more. I just have questions, with the coaching. Can they learn from what happened last year? Learn from some of their mistakes and get better this year. Love the personnel, love the player talent, but can they take that jump again this year and be a double-digit winning team and get into that postseason? But this NFC or this AFC West division is going to be, holy hell, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. This is going to be a battle, people. All right, who's your pick? Okay, hit us up, 715-830-1912. Quick break. We're going to have Joe on just for a little bit earlier here this morning. So we'll take that quick break, and we'll bring Joe on as we get ready for kickoff, NFL kickoff, week 1, coming up in just a couple days. Packers this Sunday against the Vikings. All right, let's just jump right into it here. Let's got about 15 minutes at the top of the hour, so let's chat a little green and gold with Joe DeGuano, who's on a little bit earlier this morning. Joe, how you doing, bud? You there?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. It is the Tuesday before opening weekend, and it's football. It's been football for a while now, but now it's really here. And Captain, I got to tell you, it's so excited for you because I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, Peter King will be coming on in the 7 o'clock hour. So you are kicking off football week correctly, my friend.
Yeah, you know what? I need a producer, I think, to keep tabs of all of you people that we got coming on here. Holy moly. My phone's going off, the texting line's going off. I need an assistant. You available? You know.
You know what? I would any day of the week.
All right.
When I retire, I will become your producer.
Perfect, man. I'm holding you to it. So
That'll be my retirement gig, man.
if I'm still around though, too. You never know, right?
You will be around, my friend. I have no doubts about that.
I hope so. First things first, yeah. Let's. How did Thursday go for you? I know it's a few days, but with Eau Claire Memorial and such, I got to get the update from you. How you guys doing?
You know what? We're doing well, and we lost a tough one. The freshmen did Thursday night to North, 28-22. It was a heck of a ball game. It went back and forth. It was a really enjoyable football game, and I will tell you, as I tell these kids on a regular basis, as a freshman in high school, no one cares. No one will remember your record. I said, my goal as a coach is to get you to Friday Night Lights. And obviously, Friday night, Eau Claire Memorial, the old Abes took on North in the varsity matchup, and Eau Claire Memorial now 3-0. But again, my goal as a coach has always been coaching youth football, coaching freshmen, to get these kids to Friday Night Lights, because that's where the boys of fall really is. And so excited for Coach Scott being 3-0 at the varsity level. And we've just got a great group of kids. We got about 46 kids out for freshman football. We got 2 teams, so a lot of playing time. But good things are happening in the program right now, for sure. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my own son, Friday Night Lights. A thrilling victory. Oregon defeated Milton 21-20 with a picked off 2-point conversion attempt in double overtime to win it. So, it's a beautiful thing, man. I got football almost every night of the week now.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. What a heck of a finish there for your kids' game. Holy moly!
It was incredible. It was incredible. We scored. Both teams did not score in the opening OT, and then we got the ball and scored on a Darrell Bevel like scamper by our quarterback, 25 yards out. We kick the extra point. They come down, get the touchdown, and we pick off the 2-point conversion in the end zone. And it just was and so my son's team at Oregon 2-1, and so in this week we've got Watertown coming to Oregon, and so it's just every week it's always something exciting when you're talking either at Thursday Night Lights, Friday Night Lights, Saturday game day, and of course this week Sunday game day.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. Okay, so Green Bay now kicking off on Sunday against the rivals to our west here just a little bit. Before we get to the game itself, your concern, is there any concern level on the maybe it's just sportsmanship from Matt LaFleur here a little bit, but I mean, there's something going on with Alan Lazard, and Matt LaFleur is being pretty darn quiet, and Matt LaFleur has always been kind of quiet with injuries, but I mean, level of concern that you have for Alan Lazard and his unavailability, I guess, if you will, this week for practice and getting ready for the game.
You know what? 1 to 10, 10 being severely concerned. I'm at a 6. It's a long season, and he did not practice last Wednesday, and of course he did not practice yesterday. And now what I'm hearing though is those reporters that could see a glimpse said he didn't look unencumbered. He didn't look like he was having problems with anything. There was no brace on him. He was working out individually off to the side. So it could be very precautionary. And I thought it was really interesting, too, reports coming out of Green Bay that Rodgers was seen sporting, and I mean this is not a joke, sporting a T-shirt that said, Lazard Rodgers 2023, let's make Green Bay great again. So, I thought that was an interesting statement by QB1. So I'd say that my level of concern, though, with Lazard is about a 6. I think as the week goes on and you start hearing more reports, that'll kind of move the needle for me. I think today and tomorrow when they're doing the install, and of course they've already done most of their install because they've been preparing for this game all preseason. But I think when you really get down to it, I think the Tuesday, Wednesday practices of the week are the critical ones. And again, will Alan Lazard need a lot of practice time this week? No, but I think it's important that he get out there a little bit during the key times of practice.
And the other one, obviously, our good buddy Rob Domofsky posted an article yesterday that, David Bakhtiari may be on track to play this week. David Bakhtiari told him that, after training camp was over with and practices where media couldn't go to watch as much, he's been doing team drills. And then you got the Elton Jenkins thing, which is, kind of quiet too. Maybe he started team drills. We don't know for sure, but at least from what we know, it kind of sounds like Bakhtiari might be ahead of Elton Jenkins at this point, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it sounds like. And look, here's the different variations right now when you look at the offensive line. If Bakhtiari can't play, then I think Josh Nijman stays at left tackle. If Jenkins also can't play, you're probably looking at Royce Newman at right tackle and Jake Hansen at right guard, or maybe Tom gets in there. If only Jenkins can play, then you got Newman or Hansen at right guard. If they both can play, then you could put Nijman at right tackle and Jenkins at right guard. So there's so many different combinations that when you look at it, and of course, Matt LaFleur has always said, getting the best 5 guys out there, regardless of position. And so it's going to be an interesting week with updates with injuries. But yeah, Bakhtiari sounded optimistic that he could be out there. I'm a little nervous about putting him out there on the turf up in Minnesota. But if he's feeling it, I don't think there'd be a better way for 69 to come back to be getting some reps against 55 on the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, you got Zadarius and Hunter over there too. So I mean, ideally, you'd like both Jenkins and Bakhtiari, holding down those tackle spots. But that's also tough task to ask 2 guys coming back from ACL injuries to go up against those 2 guys too.
Oh, no doubt. And look, Ed Donatel is the defensive coordinator, and Mike Pettin, we know, is the assistant head coach, and Mike Smith is the outside linebackers coach. So
just missing Don Capers, man. Just missing Don Capers.
100%. And so it's going to be interesting. And Pettin with Zadarius Smith, he liked to widen the defensive tackles out a little bit and really put Smith in a situation where he was one-on-one with the center a lot. And so, I think the Minnesota Vikings, regardless of what you see, and if Jenkins and Bakhtiari are both playing, I still think it's going to be a bit for them to shake off the rust. And so regardless of what combination you see out there, I think Mike Pettin right now and Ed Donatel are licking their chops to say, look, we're going to create confusion on that offensive line of the Green Bay Packers. And when you talk about confusion, then you look at the game last year in Minnesota and you look at the job that Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen did in that game in Minnesota last year where the Vikings won 34-31. Jefferson had 8 receptions, 169 yards. Thielen had 8 receptions, 82 yards. And it was interesting. I thought, talking about seeing Rasul Douglas and some of the other players talk about it, said it was a huge game of miscommunication for that secondary. And it just, they left guys open. They weren't communicating in the defensive backfield. So whether it be Pettin and Donatel playing games with the Packers offensive line to create confusion, look at that passing attack for the Vikings. And again, you want to know what Kevin O'Connell comes from. Kevin O'Connell comes from that Sean McVay coaching tree. And so you're talking about a guy who specializes in creating matchups and allowing the offense to be the game breaker rather than the players be the game breaker. So this game, I will say, Captain, with those uncertainties, if you will, this game does scare me a bit.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Minnesota is a playoff team, and it's I look at this team and they've got a lot of veterans. I mean, you mentioned some of them. You got Dalvin Cook, you got Jefferson, you got Thielen, and obviously Cousins defensively. You still got Eric Kendricks and you got Harrison Smith, and so they got veterans all across. It's just, I guess maybe to me is the wild card here going to be the coaching, the offensive coaching maybe for the Minnesota Vikings, kind of taking that next step up and being that play caller and being the guy in charge. Maybe that's the biggest key in this whole thing. I'm not sure, but you look at Minnesota, it's not like they're a rebuilding team. They got a lot of solid veterans over there.
No question. And I thought it was interesting. Tyler Dunn had a story that just recently came out. Our own Mike Clemens, who we hear across the Bill Michaels network, tweeted it out and talked about the disharmony and the angst and the severe frustrations under the Mike Zimmer led regime. And you look at it, and you look at it. I've always said that this is a talented team, and Minnesota, I think, it is a very talented team. And I think you bring in a fresh start. And I truly think over the last several years, Minnesota's problem was all with Mike Zimmer. I didn't think it was with the players. I thought they had the players to compete. I thought it was all with Mike Zimmer. And again, it's a great article by Tyler Dunn talking about just how acrimonious it really was in that locker room under Mike Zimmer. And so you've got a fresh start now. If you're looking at this game and you're saying it's going to be an easy win for the Green Bay Packers, I just don't see it. And again, Kevin O'Connell, this is a bright, young offensive mind. He's very Matt LaFleur-ish as far as coming into this position. And I just think those guys that have the tools, those coaches that know what tools they have offensively can be very dangerous. And I just don't think Zimmer ever really had a handle on what he wanted his team to be. And I'll tell you, for all the Kirk Cousins ripping apart that Packer fans will do, Kirk Cousins is a good NFL quarterback. He's a very good NFL quarterback. And so again, I am probably, and I'm I don't want to bury the headline here, but I'm going with the Vikings this week. And it hurts me to say that. It's just, there's so many uncertainties with this Green Bay offensive line and injury situation now with Lazard that I think at this point you're looking at a healthy Vikings team coming into this and maybe a not so healthy Green Bay team. And it's only a 1.5 point spread. I think at this point it's going to be a dogfight, and I'm picking the home team, and that's the only reason I'm giving it to Minnesota at this point is the uncertainty, of course, but also the home team. So yeah, I think Green Bay starts this season off 0-1.
Joe, looking at the full season, I know we only got a couple minutes left here, but is there a player on this team that you think could be a sleeper player, whether it's offense or defense? Is there a player that you think that maybe we didn't talk enough or didn't get a whole lot of, pub and training camp preseason that you think could be a big X factor for this team?
Yeah, I tweeted it out today. I mean, I honestly think that after looking over some of the games again this preseason and looking over, what a Matt LaFleur offense can do, I do think Amari Rodgers is that guy. And those that watched the Clemson game last night, there were several Amari Rodgers references. And so I think this is a guy that Green Bay plans to use in a lot of different ways. I think Matt LaFleur, I think they kept it under the hood this preseason, but I think you're going to see Amari Rodgers get probably around 10 touches a game, and that's going to be some out of the backfield. I think that's going to be catching the ball. I think you're going to see jet sweeps. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. And it seemed to me that LaFleur took that out of the playbook with Devontae Adams, and everyone had admitted that 80% of the play calls were geared towards Adams. And so when you look at it, you can put Amari Rodgers back in that position. And I just think it creates a lot of confusion going back to that term on the defensive side of the ball. So I think Amari Rodgers, has been an under-the-radar guy that I think LaFleur is going to be using very creatively this year.
All right, Joseph. So we got to let you go because the shot clock's going to cut us off here. So you're going Vikings really quick for the weekend to recap it?
Yeah, I just got it right now. There's just too much uncertainty with the injury situation. And like I said, I think you got a new coach, fresh start, home dog. I look at all of these types of things and I say, the arrow's pointing to the Vikings in a close one this week.
All right, Joe. Hopefully you're wrong, but I agree with you. It's a scary game. I'm a little nervous. So, all right. Well, it's good to be actually talking about the games there, bud. Appreciate the time as always, and we'll catch up with you again here soon. Okay, sir?
All right, Captain. Have a good Monday.
You
or
too.
Tuesday.
Yeah. I'm going to get screwed up too. Don't worry about it, man. So,
all right, brother. Take care.
You too. There you go. There's Joe. Hopping on a little bit early because we'll be chatting with Peter King coming up in about 20 minutes or so from now. 1 hour already in on this busy Tuesday. It is a Grind My Gears Tuesday, so something is grinding your gears. Hit us up. What's the text on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line? All right, 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. Sports Talk 105.1 with the very latest local news.
One person is safe after getting their car stuck on a levee in La Crosse. First responders called to Riverside Park shortly before 5:30 yesterday, where they found that car stuck on the edge of a levee with a person inside. Other than where the car crashed through the barriers, though, there appears to be no other apparent damage. Well, it was wheels down on Air Force One yesterday, and President Biden met with some heckling from the crowd. The messages he brought with him in Wisconsin included saying not every Republican is a MAGA Republican.
The extreme MAGA Republicans in Congress have chosen to go backwards, full of anger, violence, hate, and division. But together, we can and we must choose a different path.
And went on to cheer on American workers, highlighting union gains.
Today, unions in this country have the support, whether they're union members or not, of over 60% of the American people. Never before has unions been that popular.
Away from the political stage, we look at headlines that stretch across our state. And scammers are now aiming to use the pending student loan forgiveness plans to get money out of you. Michelle Reenan with the State Consumer Protection Division says you should be wary of something like links in your email, right?
If you get an email that claims to look like it's coming from your borrower, and they ask you to click a link to do an update or verify information, know that scammers impersonate these borrowers and lenders all the time.
As you should instead be contacting your lender yourself and ensure that the update is accurate or needed. Well, a brand new cruise ship has visited La Crosse for the first time. The Viking Mississippi is a luxury liner measuring 450 feet long and can hold nearly 400 passengers. It left St. Paul, Minnesota, September 3rd, docked at Riverside Park yesterday. It's a 15-day cruise that's next headed to St. Louis, Missouri, with a final destination of New Orleans. Continuing to cruise across headlines, the Wisconsin Elections Commission is asking lawmakers and the governor to create a new inspector general position. Megan Wolf is the administrator of the Wisconsin Elections Commission, saying on Capital City Sunday,
somebody that understands how to research things, how to find answers to questions, and how to utilize expertise about elections, and also understands how to communicate complex subject matter to the public.
Wolf is asking for $1.3 million to staff a 10-person inspector general's office over the next 2 years. Says they would improve the commission's ability to handle data requests, allegations of election law violations, and increase the number of audits. Let's go to the dogs. Literally. Oh, Dolly, what do we know?
Singer announced her collection called Doggy Parton, saying, "Puppy love was my very first record, and 6 decades later, my love for pets is stronger than ever." The Doggy Parton line includes pink cowgirl hats, denim and gingham bandanas, pink harnesses and leashes, Dolly Parton band shirts, and more. Dolly added that part of the proceeds will support the Willa Bee Farms Animal Rescue. Doggy Parton products are now available on Amazon and in online stores coming soon. I'm Michael Kastner.
I feel like it's fair to tell Kasper that this was originally part of his new merch idea. I looked at the sketches he made for Sports Talk in the Dan Kasper Show, and
includes pink cowgirl hats, denim and gingham bandanas, pink harnesses and leashes, and band shirts, and more.
For Sports Talk 105.1, I'm Morgan McCarthy.
After enjoying a beautiful Labor Day, we'll start off today mostly into the mid-50s. A few areas may have some patchy fog, but we'll have more sunshine to get us through the day today, with temperatures once again climbing to the upper 70s, making for a rather comfortable afternoon. Later on tonight, partly cloudy conditions will work in, with temperatures dipping to the upper 50s and low 60s, and this will set up a much warmer stretch of temperatures heading our way, mostly into the mid to upper 80s over the next few days. I'm Skywarn 13 meteorologist Mike D'Andrea.
When the numbers are all added up for this year, some of them will be big. Farm income will be greatly affected by input costs. Let's take a look at some farm news this morning on Sports Talk 105.1. Farm income from most major farm production areas is expected to increase this year, but input costs have increased more, and that's having an effect on net farm income during the current fiscal year, which ends on September 30th. According to a report over DTN, net farm income, which is a measure of gross farm receipts minus production expenses, including depreciation, will increase over $7 billion this year to $147.7 billion. But once expenses are figured in, that total will fall by $900 million. USDA economists figure those expenses will increase over $66 billion, with fertilizer costs up almost $15.5 billion. Feed expenses will be up almost $10 billion. Pesticide costs up $3.7 billion. Fuel costs have gone up about $6 billion, and interest rates on farm loans are up $7.5 billion. Well, the movement in the livestock industry is to build more processing plants to offset any market constraints posed by only a handful of companies owning that infrastructure. The idea was to have more producer-owned packing plants that would give beef and pork producers more opportunity to secure higher prices for their production. One of those proposed plants, Sustainable Beef, is in North Platte, Nebraska, and that would process 1,500 head of beef a day. The cost to build it, right around $325 million, and earlier last week, the leaders of that project announced that Walmart has signed on as a minority owner of that plant, which makes it easier for the project to secure funding so they can start building the plant this month with an opening date sometime in 2024. And that's a look at some farm news this morning. Sports Talk 105.1. I'm Bob Bosold.
Need to hire? Find great people fast with Indeed. Their end-to-end hiring solutions helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Welcome to the Dan Kasper Show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's the show that features serious, thought-provoking sports talk and insightful sports commentary.
You knew it!
In other words, it's the show where they all talk a crap load about sports.
Let's go for it!
Now let's introduce your host, a man who lives and breathes and has a passion for sports. A man who breaks everything down in the sports world and gives you everything you need to know. Plus a bunch of stuff you probably don't need, but you'll still enjoy it.
You can't handle the truth!
Here is your host, Dan Kasper.
Prime time! Prime time!
Second hour kicking off on this Tuesday morning, September 6th. It's not going to be the first time I'm going to screw up today and the dates and all that stuff. But happy Tuesday, everybody. Hopefully you're all off to a fantastic start. Appreciate you tuning in wherever and however you are tuning in. Coming up in about, 12 minutes or so, we'll catch up with our good friend, NFL insider Peter King, NBC Sports. His column, Football Morning in America, that drops every Monday morning, host of the Peter King podcast. I'll be catching up with him at 7:20 as we get ready to kick off the NFL season. Kick off in just a couple of days with the Bills and the Rams. And then, of course, we've got Packers versus the Vikings on Sunday. So week one coming in just couple of days here. Let's get this hour started with some sports nuggets of the day. 1905, Frank Smith with the Chicago White Sox pitched a no-hitter against the Detroit Tigers. The game set a record for the most lopsided margin of victory for a no-hitter in American League history. It was 15-0. We got 1924. Here you go. You want to talk about old school pitching? Urban Shocker. The St. Louis Browns pitched 2 complete games against the Chicago White Sox. He won both games 6-2. We've got, what else do we want to go here? 1972, the Summer Olympics resumed in Munich, West Germany, a day after the deadly hostage crisis that took the lives of 11 Israelis and 5 Arab abductors. So, where else do we want to go here? 1989, the Pittsburgh Steelers were banned from practicing on their own field, Three River Stadium, because the Rolling Stones were rehearsing for their upcoming concert. I don't think that would happen anymore. We got Was this Cal Ripken played his 2,131st consecutive game, setting a new record. Lou Gehrig previously held the record. I remember that as a kid watching that, and I think I still have the Sports Illustrated cover of that night of that game. I think I still have it. I think I still got that one. What else do we got here? 2001, Barry Bonds became the 5th player in Major League Baseball history to hit 60 home runs. 60 home runs. All right, that's all I got for your sports nuggets for the day. Let's continue our NFL preview series looking at the NFC West now. Let's take a look at the NFC West. So we touched on the AFC West. Let's take a look at the NFC West. The Arizona Cardinals. All right, they made the postseason last year. 11-6 record. Started off hot in the first half. Second half of the season, well, it floundered after that Packers game, if you remember. Second half, and it's kind of been a thing with Cliff Kingsbury. Throughout his kind of, if you want to go back to Texas Tech and that sort of thing, it's kind of been a knock on him as the second half performance of his teams. Now, when you look at the Cardinals, DeAndre Hopkins, if he's healthy, one of the premier wide receivers in the game. But you remember, he's suspended here for the first few games too. So they're going to rely on Hollywood Brown. They got A.J. Greenback. They got Rondale Moore, James Conner over there at running back. Defensively, J.J. Watt. But they do lose Chandler Jones. A little bit of an edge rusher over there. So I don't think the Cardinals make it back to the postseason this year. I don't think they have enough. I think they'll be a pesky team. I think they'll be a team around 500 or so. But I don't see them getting back to the postseason. I don't see that happening this year. And I think there's going to be maybe some more call. I mean, Kingsbury got a new contract extension, so I don't think he'll go anywhere unless it's just awful this year. I mean, unless they just like flounder and it's ugly. But especially defensively, I don't know if they have enough to get back to the postseason this year. They got some interesting weapons on offense to help out Kyler Murray. I just don't know if they got enough on defense. You got Seattle, who, I mean, no, they're not making the postseason this year. I think they finished last in this division. Geno Smith, Drew Lock, doesn't matter who's playing quarterback, which is unfortunate because Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, I think, are two kind of underrated wide receivers, more so Tyler Lockett. DK Metcalf, he gets the attention for being a big, fast wide receiver, but you look at Tyler Lockett and kind of what he has done throughout his career. I mean, last year finished 9th in receiving yards, 1,175. And he's just been kind of a quiet or a quietly consistent wide receiver. 3 straight years he's had over 1,000 yards receiving. So they've got receivers, they got weapons, but who's the quarterback that's going to be able to get them the ball? I don't have any faith in Geno Smith and Drew Lock. Defensively, kind of up in the air too. No Bobby Wagner to lead that group. You got Jamal Adams at safety, a high price safety, but is he a top-fledged top 5 safety in the league right now? I don't know. Diggs is still there, but it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, I think, for the Seattle Seahawks this year. Then we got the 49ers, which to me, the biggest now question is going to be the quarterback. Trey Lance is the starter. Jimmy G is the backup. Is that shadow going to be there? Can Trey Lance, they can say all the right stuff that they want. They can, say they're good friends and they're good buddies and that sort of thing. And, I know Aaron Rodgers kind of mentioned it on Pat McAfee's show last week when he was talking about like him and Jordan Love. He cheers for Jordan Love and that. And, he gets excited when he makes a play. And he says he imagines it's going to be the same thing with like Trey Lance and Jimmy G. But I think it's a little bit of a different scenario because Aaron Rodgers' talent compared to Jordan Love's talent, there's a gap. Okay. There's no talk about Jordan Love replacing Aaron Rodgers as the starter while Aaron Rodgers is still playing in Green Bay. So Trey Lance, Jimmy G, it's a little bit of a different scenario. And that competitive side, Jimmy G wants to be a starter, right? I mean, he wants to be a starter. So, yeah, you might be rooting for his team and, rooting for Trey Lance. But if somehow he gets the starting job, he's not going to apologize for it. But I'll be curious to see how Trey Lance plays this year. What kind of quarterback is he going to be? He's got George Kittle. He's got Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk's over there. Can he be a number one starting quarterback this year? Defensively, a lot of love for this group. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, one of the top inside linebackers. A lot of love for this defensive group again this year. And really, there's nothing that shouldn't tell you that there shouldn't be. So they'll be a stingy group. They'll keep their ball club in games. I know a lot of people still picking them to be a wild card. And I think they could compete for a wild card spot. Maybe like a 10-7 type of record. But I think San Francisco is capable of being a playoff team. I think they'll finish second in this division. But the biggest key to me is going to be that quarterback position. And then the Rams, I mean, defending Super Bowl champs. Matthew Stafford, I think everybody's going to be paying attention to his elbow, if that's going to be something that's going to hinder him. They bring in Allen Robinson to pair up with Cooper Kupp. I know they're still talking about Odell Beckham Jr. Defensively, they've gotten, they lost Von Miller, but they brought in Bobby Wagner. They still have Aaron Donald up front. So the Rams, I think, are still the favorites to win this division, to get the job done, and get back to the postseason. Rams, 49ers, my top two teams. I think the 49ers can compete for a wild card spot, but I think this is the Rams division. I think this is the Rams division to lose. So, all right, that's just kind of your breakdowns there a little bit. So, tell you what, let's take a quick break here, and then we'll chat up with Peter King, Football Morning in America, NFL Insider host, Peter King podcast, NBC Sports. He's got his 2022 picks out there. His Super Bowl matchup is the Buffalo Bills versus the Packers. He does have the Buffalo Bills defeating the Packers in the Super Bowl. But we'll just kind of do a little preview of the upcoming 2022-23 NFL season with one of the best in the biz, Mr. Peter King. So let's take that quick break, and then coming up in just a few minutes, we'll catch up with our good friend Peter King from NBC Sports in just a couple minutes after this break.
You're listening to the Dan Kasper Show.
It's hunting season, people. You've made it through winter, spring, if you think we actually get a spring, and summer to get to this point. Fall here in Wisconsin is spectacular. Whether you're doing some geese, duck, or bird hunting and you're looking for that new shotgun, Tilden Gun is your place to go because they will help you find just exactly what you're looking for. That's what they did for me when I was looking for one. They helped me find the perfect shotgun that I was looking for turkey hunting. Or maybe you're still waiting for deer season and you need that rifle come November. Well, Tilden Gun can help you find that perfect deer rifle as well because, well, they did that for me too. Welcome to hunting season, everyone. Make sure you're prepared for this season with the help from Tilden Gun. You can start off by visiting Tilden Gun's website at tildengun.com, where you can check out their amazing selection and even better prices. Nobody can match what Tilden Gun can provide for you. Tilden Gun is located at 12427 98th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Do you remember the countless times when you were young and playing in the backyard, daydreaming of playing against or with your favorite athlete, or imagining yourself chasing your dreams and experiencing life the way you're supposed to? That's how we came up with a name for Backyard Dreams. Backyard Dreams is WAYY Sports Talk 105.1 790 AM's charitable entity. We have 5 main goals for Backyard Dreams: to provide and promote opportunities for anyone to have a chance to play, to help anyone overcome obstacles to chase their dreams, to help raise awareness for those in need, to help create opportunities for those to enjoy their passions, and to help those enjoy their life and create special memories. It doesn't matter if you are a child, teen, or an adult. Backyard Dreams wants to help anyone. For more information, success stories about Backyard Dreams, and if you know someone who could benefit from Backyard Dreams, just visit sportstalk1051.com and click on the Backyard Dreams tab.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. The education assistance I received made it possible for me to be the first person in my family to go to school and graduate debt-free. That education helped get me to the first day at my dream job, a job that I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job, plus the other benefits possible from the Army National Guard, helped me become a first-time homeowner. Also, part of my role as a National Guard soldier means I know that I can be one of the first to respond and help my community if disaster ever strikes. I'm extremely proud that I get to serve my community, and that first step I took by joining the Army National Guard has made all the difference in my life. Talk to your local recruiter or visit nationalguard.com to find out what firsts are available to you in the Army National Guard.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
Get ready to save with half-off deals. A great way for you to get goods and services that you will love and you don't have to pay full price. Be sure to check out all the great savings that half-off deals have to offer. There's something for everyone, so be sure to see for yourself. Be ready with your credit or debit card and get ready to save. For more details and to find out about all the savings, just go to aroundthe715.com.
We'll make your building tough as a Northland with quality materials and custom-made plans. Northland Buildings, great styles and colors, designs of all forms. You're safe and secure come snow, wind, or storms. Protect all you own, farm, business, or home. Northland Buildings.
Time to start thinking about fall and what comes after that. Act now to protect your equipment, farm machinery, and livestock. Get a quality Northland building for security and protection. Built tough to withstand Midwest weather. Featuring a 50-year snow load warranty. Get your site ready now and get on the build schedule for your new Northland building. Call 800-736-4510 or on the web at northlandbuildings.com. Get a quality building at a fair price. Built tough for the Northland.
Northland Buildings.
What's something you can't get for $14.99? The mountain of snacks you need for a weekend of football. Something you can get for $14.99? A month of unlimited car washes at Clean and Classy. Something you can't do in 5 minutes? Eat all of those mini hot dogs, even if you try. Something you can do in 5 minutes? Get a spring clean car at Clean and Classy on West Claremont and off Hastings on Brackett Avenue. Wash your car more than once a month? A monthly pass is going to save you money. Make your car clean and classy.
Sports. You love it. We love it. And quite frankly, I don't trust anyone who doesn't love it. Do you?
Is that a serious question?
The Dan Kasper Show.
With the start of a new NFL season, if anybody's interested in my rambling nonsense on the Green and Gold, don't forget you can sign up for the Green and Gold Chalk Talk newsletter. New emails, new newsletter sent every week during the season. All you have to do is head to sportstalk1051.com, and you'll see the link right up there or the icon right on the homepage, or you can click on the Nation tab and sign up there. It's free. All you got to do is just enter your email, and then you can get an email from me once a week with some rambling nonsense about the Green and Gold over there in Green Bay. So We kick off our NFL preview week with one of the best in the business, if you ask for my opinion, Mr. Peter King from NBC Sports, Football Morning in America, host of the Peter King podcast. Good morning, Peter. How you doing?
Good morning, Dan. How are you? Happy football season.
Happy football season to you. How many opening weeks or opening days or how many years is this for you covering the NFL now?
This is my 39th season covering the NFL. I started in 1984 covering the Bengals in Cincinnati. So, 39 years for me.
39. Well, hopefully for a lot more after this too. You got to keep it going, man. We love you too much.
We'll see how it goes.
Hey, so I know, obviously you did your training camp tour and that sort of thing. And, one team in your latest column that you mentioned or that you're pretty high on is the Saints. And, the Saints intrigued me a little bit too because, I look at they've got weapons on the offensive side. We know about their defense. But is the biggest key, Peter, in your opinion, Jameis Winston and how he plays that quarterback position for the Saints this year?
Yeah, it's funny, Dan. I probably would not have picked the Saints to win the NFC South and to be the top seed in the NFC. Bizarrely, I probably wouldn't have picked them if they didn't have Andy Dalton backing up Jameis Winston, because I'm not totally all in on Jameis Winston. I don't really know how he's going to play in a 17-game season. Let's see him coming off a major injury last year. And, I don't think anybody was positive about him regardless. So I'm bullish on the Saints, but this is sort of, when I sat down to do this over the weekend, I just kept thinking to myself, man, I don't really love any team in the NFC right now. I mean, I like a lot of teams, but you look at the Rams. I think the Rams have one of the Bataan death marches of schedules that I've ever seen. They're playing 10 teams that made the playoffs last year. And so I don't know. There's so much about this, or they have 10 games, I should say, against teams that made the playoffs last year. And there's so much about predicting that you just have to go by a gut feel. And I just like the Saints a lot. I think their biggest problem last year was their receiving core. And they basically added 3 guys who are at the top of the food chain, I think. Now, we don't know how Michael Thomas is going to be. I think Chris Olave is going to be the offensive rookie of the year. I think he's going to be an impact player from day one, the receiver from Ohio State. And I like Jarvis Landry coming over from Cleveland. I think he's got a year or 2 left. So I like them, but one of the reasons I picked the Packers to go to the Super Bowl is it's kind of ironic. They have home field every year and lose. And now I think they're going to go on the road and win, and get to the Super Bowl. So we'll see if that pans out.
You mentioned Green Bay, and I know when I chatted with you about a month or so ago, and you mentioned it again in your column with the whole Devontae Adams situation, everybody's kind of looking at like that wide receiver group, but you're kind of like, maybe it's not going to be as bad as people are kind of making it out to be. What would you say is the biggest question mark surrounding Green Bay this year?
Obviously how fast, this is a really, really interesting test Sunday in Minnesota, because not only is it, an arch rival game right out of the box, but it's Aaron Rodgers seeing how quickly he can get on the same page and do really big things with receivers he doesn't know very well. And, that he's just getting to know. And I think that is a huge part of this season for Green Bay. I think by the end of the season, by mid-season, probably they're going to have a top 5 defense in the NFL. I think they're going to be good on defense, but they've got a lot of young players who are going to be fitting into this scheme early on. So I think after they play with each other for a while, that's going to be really good. And I just think one of the reasons why I picked Green Bay to go so far this year is that I just think Aaron Rodgers, Dan, you know this about great players. They always look for the doubters and the people who are questioning them. And I think Aaron Rodgers knows, he hears everything. It's just like Patrick Mahomes. You lose Tyreek Hill and everybody thinks, well, you're going to take a big step back. Well, I can tell you the Kansas City Chiefs do not think they're going to take a step back without Tyreek Hill. And I think Rodgers is pretty much the same way. He said, oh, okay, you think we're going to take a step back without Devontae Adams? I'll show you. And that's why, in my opinion, that's why he was so a little bit confrontational and a little bit stern with his young receiving core this year in training camp. He needs the Romeo Dobbses of the world to hit the ground running and to be great on Sunday in Minnesota. If they are, they'll win that game. But obviously that's a big part of how they're going to be, Dan, how good their young receivers are early.
Do you think Rich Bisaccia can make that big of an impact on the special teams unit for Green Bay?
I do, and I think one of the things about Bisaccia is that he's one of these guys who he's not going to take no for an answer. He's not going to stand mediocrity. I wrote this in my column this week, that I think he came to the Packers at the absolute right time. Brian Gutekunst basically now has kept 3 special teams players on his roster, 3 defensive backs, and there's a 4th one on the practice squad, because I think Gutekunst feels like, I am going to move special teams guys in and out of the lineup as need be. We've got a short list of good special teams players who could well be in Green Bay as the year goes on, because we are going to make sure that Rich Bisaccia has the ammunition. And we've never done that before. Never actually saved spots for guys who are there primarily for special teams. And look, we can say whatever we want about the divisional game against the Niners. And the offense was a huge disappointment in that game. But why essentially did they lose the game? You can blame the offense. You could blame Rodgers for throwing the ball into double coverage at the end on that huge play where he's got a wide open Alan Lazard for a 20-yard gain in the middle of the field, and yet he forces it to Devontae Adams, incomplete. And, that was – you definitely can blame the offense. But the reason why, the one play why they lost the game is the blocked punt. And that's just – I just don't see that happening anymore. I just think Bisaccia is going to demand a lot more from that area of the team, and I will be surprised if they're not one of the best special teams units in the league.
He's Peter King, Football Morning in America, also hosts of the Peter King podcast. Peter, we were talking a little bit about the AFC West at the beginning of the show, kind of doing some division previews. And I know in your picks, you've got Kansas City, but, you kind of mentioned it could be a flip-flop between Kansas City and the Chargers. You've got Denver, and obviously with the Raiders, where Devontae Adams is now. Have you seen, at least at the beginning of a season before, this much, potential within this division? Because this division, it looks stacked. Can you remember another time where a division looked this stacked heading into a season?
The NFL changed from 3 divisions per conference to 4 in 2002. 2002 was the first year that they had 8 14 divisions. And since then, since they've gone to 8 14 divisions, this is the best division I recall from top to bottom, because any team you pick for fourth, in my opinion, I think all four of these teams are top 12 teams in the NFL. They all can't make the playoffs, in part because they're going to knock each other off in division games. But to me, I think this is an impossible division to predict. When you have four quarterbacks, when the worst quarterback in the division, Derek Carr, in my opinion, is going to throw for 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns. I mean, that's a ridiculously stacked division, especially offensively. So I think I only picked two teams, the Chargers and Chiefs, to go to the playoffs. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders made a deep playoff run, or the Broncos. Nothing would surprise me in that division, because every one of them has a quarterback who's potentially a top 10 quarterback in the league.
You mentioned even too the interesting tidbit in your column I was reading with the extension with Russell Wilson and Denver, and it sounds like him and Nathaniel Hackett, former Packers offensive coordinator, have just really like bonded and really struck a friendship, and just really are in sync at this point, it seems like.
Yeah, last Monday, this is something when I was talking to people out there. Last Monday, players had the day off at the Broncos facility, and Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett went into an office at the facility and basically spent 2 hours together, just, kind of being mad scientist and pupil in the room. And the reason why I think sessions like that are so significant for Russell Wilson is because that's what he's wanted. That's what he wanted when he was in Seattle, and that's what he didn't have when he was in Seattle. So I think the fact that they have that now really is something to Russell Wilson that's a blessing, and that he thinks is going to make him significantly better as a player, just because he's going to feel more invested in that offense this year.
Peter, is there a team, when you're looking at it, that I know we touched on the Saints a little bit, but is there a team that you think could be maybe a little bit of surprise, or maybe not necessarily making the postseason, but maybe a team that is going to perform a little bit better, in your opinion, than maybe what we're kind of giving them credit for?
I like Detroit and Jacksonville to be respectable. I think both of them will be in the 7-win range. I also think this is the year finally that the Chargers break through. It's a tough division, as we talked about, but I just love Justin Herbert. I don't know anybody who doesn't. I think he's going to be protected better. I think their running game is going to be a little bit better. They invested in a first-round guard in Zion Johnson. And I think they've answered their problems on defense. They're going to be better along the defensive front. They were very ragged there last year, allowing 4.8 yards a carry. Khalil Mack, I don't know really what to expect out of him after missing 10 games last year with a foot injury. He's now 31, but I think they've answered a bunch of their questions, that if those guys play to their level on their resume, I think they've got a good chance to win 12 games and to win that division.
He's Peter King, Football Morning in America. You can check out his latest column, profootballtalk.nbcsports.com. Also subscribe and check out all of his episodes for the Peter King podcast. Peter, again, big thanks. Really appreciate you joining us here in Western Wisconsin, and looking forward to reading all your columns every Monday morning throughout the football season. So thank you so much, Peter.
Thanks a million, Dan. Have a great day. Call anytime.
Awesome. Thank you. There you go. There's Peter King, Football Morning in America, host of the Peter King podcast. We're going to take a quick break. And, well, we got to throw in a little baseball chat too. Are you starting to sour? I mean, do you want to talk Brewers even though it's football week here? Let me know. Let me know. Surveyor's also looking for some names that he wants to call all of you listeners out there. Junkies is one. Sports Junkies. We got Drew from Eau Claire said, I'm digging Kasper's crew. What else do we got? We'll put it out to a vote if we get a few names out there. Okay? So hit us up with some text on that. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Got a take on today's topics but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
If you've been dreaming of updating your kitchen, building a new patio, or buying a new home, give Dairy State Bank a call. Whether you're building, buying, or renovating, they offer a variety of financing options. More importantly, their lenders take time to listen to your needs and find a loan program that fits your lifestyle. They also offer pre-qualifications, so you'll know you're shopping in a price range you can afford. Dairy State Bank, banking on relationships for 70 years. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
On relationships, Dairy State Bank.
Get ready to save with half-off deals. A great way for you to get goods and services that you will love and you don't have to pay full price. Be sure to check out all the great savings that half-off deals have to offer. There's something for everyone, so be sure to see for yourself. Be ready with your credit or debit card and get ready to save. For more details and to find out about all the savings, just go to aroundthe715.com.
If you book your move with Dan the Moving Man in the last 2 weeks of September, Dan the Moving Man will donate clothes to local kids shelters for each move booked. You don't even have to move during the last 2 weeks of September. Just book now for a future move through Dan the Moving Man during the last 2 weeks of September and get great moving service while helping keep kids warm in the Chippewa Valley. For every local move booked, they donate $50. For every long distance move, they donate $200. Also, you can drop off or they can pick up donations as well. Get all the info at danthemovingman.com. Dan the Moving Man. They like to move it, move it.
A lot of folks around here are breathing easier because of Grace Home Respiratory. They appreciate that Grace Home Respiratory is a local company that puts customer service first. They appreciate that Grace Home Respiratory provides an array of medical equipment, services, and supplies to help their recovery and enhance their quality of life. They appreciate that Grace Home Respiratory has the experience and qualifications that exceed their expectations. So when you need home medical equipment and services, turn to Grace Home Respiratory not only for the equipment you need, but for their dedicated staff of respiratory therapists who are on call 24 hours a day. To find out more, call Grace Home Respiratory at 715-832-7377 or online at ghr-ec.com.
Grace Home Respiratory always has your health and safety as their top priority. Your expert when it comes to medical equipment and supplies. Choose Grace Home Respiratory.
What's something you can't get for $14.99? The mountain of snacks you need for a weekend of football. Something you can get for $14.99? A month of unlimited car washes at Clean and Classy. Something you can't do in 5 minutes? Eat all of those mini hot dogs, even if you try. Something you can do in 5 minutes? Get a spring clean car at Clean and Classy on West Claremont and off Hastings on Brackett Avenue. Wash your car more than once a month? A monthly pass is going to save you money. Make your car clean and classy.
Staples has everything for school at great prices. So this year you won't go back to school. You'll be ready to move forward into art class.
A 4-foot replica of the Statue of Liberty using elbow macaroni?
With glue and art supplies from Staples.
By tomorrow.
This week, Crayola 24-count crayons, Staples comp books, and 2-pocket poly folders are each just 50 cents. Get everything on your list at amazing prices. This year, go forward to school with Staples. Shop in-store, online, or buy online and pick up in-store. Ends 9/10, limit 30.
If you were to listen to Dan Kasper nonstop around the clock for a solid month, you'd become the king of all sports fans, desired by beautiful women, and rich beyond your dreams. I think. Try it and let's see. The Dan Kasper Show.
Big thanks to NFL insider Peter King for joining us here this morning. If you missed any part of that conversation, we'll put it up on the Man Cave podcast a little bit later on today. So always great to catch up with Mr. King, best in the biz, best in the business. So, all right, coming up at 8:20, we will catch up with RJ Cardinal Badger football, getting the victory against Illinois State on Saturday, 38-0. And now they, getting ready for Washington State this Saturday. So we'll recap that game, look ahead to Washington State. Do you take anything away from a game like what the Badgers had against Illinois State? I mean, numbers look great, right? 38-0. Graham Mertz was 14 of 16. But maybe you're kind of like, yeah, well, look at the opponent they played against. So maybe you're a little bit down on them. What do you think? Hit us up with some text and that. So, Surveyor, who's looking for some nicknames for listeners out there. Good morning, DK, and the rest of my junkies, sports junkies. Football is finally back, and I have to grind my gears. People who auto draft. I hate your stinking guts. You make me vomit. Scum between my toes. Love, Surveyor Sam. We had the 3 fantasy football drafts last night for our fantasy football leagues out there. So, yeah, that was kind of a crazy time last night, but a lot of fun too. We'll see how everything goes. What do we got? What did C-Bomb said something a little bit earlier. I am a sports junkie. I'm all for being one of Kasper's junkies. So a little bit of a different spin on that. Okay. Again, we're going to kind of put them all together, maybe put a little bracket, maybe do a little head-to-head matchup voting, that sort of thing, but we'll see. All right. We'll get a little Brewers chat in here before the top of the hour. Brewers getting a victory yesterday against Colorado after losing the series against Arizona, dropping 3 of 4. But thankfully, both the Padres and the Phillies have lost 3 in a row. So right now, the Brewers are still 2 games back in the wild card standings. Right now, Philadelphia 73-61, San Diego 74-62. Milwaukee is 71-63. San Diego's taking on Arizona right now. Philadelphia is taking on Miami. If you kind of want to look at, their upcoming schedule here a little bit, I know the Padres, they've got a few, or at least a couple series yet with the Dodgers coming up. And that starts this Friday, that series with the Padres and the Dodgers. For the Phillies, after they're done with the Marlins here, then they take on the Nationals. So, I mean, Philly should take care of business there, but I guess you never know. I think division is just, I mean, the Cardinals are red hot right now, 7-3 in their last 10. They've got a 7.5 lead in the division. I mean, that's out the window right now, but still hope. There's still some hope that the Brewers can get into a wild card spot here. Brandon Woodruff is going to be on the mound for the Brew Crew tonight. If we're taking a look at this matchup here, Woodruff looking for his 10th win of the season. Going to try to get it done tonight. He's 9-4 so far this year with a 3.54 ERA. But man, they got to win this series. Oh, they got to win. They're not going to get luck of the draw these like they kind of did these with that series against Arizona. I mean, Dalton Varsho got him a couple games there. Shout out to the local kid, Dalton Varsho. But man, the Brewers cannot lose this series if they still want to. They've got to win the rest of the series up until next week. I mean, it's painful. It's painful, but gotta take care of business against Colorado because you're not going to continue to get help from other teams that are going to beat the Phillies and the Padres. You got to start taking care of business of your own destination here. Get it done. It's just story of the year, theme of the year, though, for the Brew Crew. So, but looking at some of the matchups here a little bit, I mean, you've got Chad Cool over there for the for the Rockies, who's 6-8 with a 5.19 ERA. Colton Wong's got the most at-bats, 17 at-bats, 118 batting average against him. Christian Yelich, 267, who returned to the lineup yesterday, and 15 at-bats. That's the most experience there. Otherwise, you got about a couple games worth. Willie Adames, 6 at-bats, 500. Rowdy Tellez, 5 at-bats, 400. On the flip side, some of the batters going up against one Brandon Woodruff. Diaz has got the most with 12 at-bats and a 333 batting average. That's the only – then Charlie Blackmon's 10 at-bats and 200. That's the only two right now with double-digit at-bats against Brandon Woodruff right now. So, but we'll see. First pitch tonight, 7:40. Trying to keep the optimism here. I'm hoping, in these final, 20-odd some games that they can – 28 games left that they can get this thing done. I mean, we put up that thing of Bob and what? We only put 2? No, 1. Let me look at it. 1 piece on that. All right, no, 2. 1 against Arizona and 1 against Colorado, I guess. So yeah, we've only put 2 pieces on the bikini picture of Bob on there. So 28 more games left to go. And I still get a feeling, and I don't want to speak for a lot of Brewers fans, but I get the feeling that we've, even if they get to the postseason, it might be the casual fans like, yeah, but they're not going to do anything, so I'm not going to pay attention. I mean, it's going to happen. There'll be some. I hope they get to the postseason. I hope that they can do some damage. Do I have confidence in that? Hell no, I don't. But that's why we love sports, right? That's why we still pay attention to it. What do we got? Casper's Crazies. Okay, that's one. I'll have to start writing these down and putting them out there. Hey, Dan, in honor of Labor Day, grilled some Casper brats I had saved in my freezer yesterday. Good stuff as usual. Oh, boy. Thanks, Mark. Good stuff. Norm Chow is still coaching. What is this? New head coaching gig? Huh, all right. Oh, Europe. Got it. Okay. Sorry, trying to read fly here a little bit. So, coming up next hour, we'll do some I'm kind of thrown for a loop here because I think it's Monday, so I was going to do some stock reports in the next hour, but it's Tuesday. Stock reports are safe for Mondays. So, what did we say we were going to do Tuesdays? Oh yeah, bench, start, cut. Tell you what, we're going to do that coming up just past 8 o'clock. So if you remember last week, we kind of said we're going to do like a bench, start, cut theme. We're going to do that just past 8 o'clock before we get RJ Cardinal on there. So you guys can play along too. When we get to it, just past 8 o'clock, bench, start, cut. 3 things, 3 people, 3 teams, whatever. It's open-ended. Bench, start, cut. Might do a little fantasy football theme to this one after our 3 fantasy football drafts from last night. But yeah, okay, just remembered that. It's been a long weekend. So bench, start, cut. We'll do maybe a fantasy football theme on here. I have to think about it a little bit during the break. Our question, though, as we've been kind of continuing our preview series for the kickoff, for the NFL kickoff season, who do you got coming out of the AFC West? You going to go with the Chiefs? Do you think the Chargers can do it this year? Are you in love with the Raiders, with Devontae Adams and Josh McDaniels over there? What about the Broncos and Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett? Who do you think will win the AFC West? I still am rolling with the Chiefs, and I think a lot of it has to deal with they've got more certainty, if that kind of makes sense. Like, we know what to expect from Andy Reid. We know what to expect from Patrick Mahomes. I don't necessarily like their defense, but I feel like it's a safer pick. I feel like the Chiefs are a little bit of a safer pick. I think the Chargers could win the division, but are they ready for that next step this year? And they've always kind of gone through some injuries, and they've lost some ridiculous games over the last few years. Are they ready to take that next step? Raiders, I think Josh McDaniels is going to do better in his second stint as a head coach. To me, my biggest question is Derek Carr. He might put up some big numbers, but it's kind of like something that a lot of Packers fans criticized with Devontae when he was here, or not necessarily Devontae, but it was with Aaron when Devontae was in Green Bay, was that Aaron targeted Devontae too much. Derek Carr's got Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow, but since that's his good friend, that's his best friend, will he get in the habit of trying to force the ball to Devontae more? That, to me, is one of the biggest questions. And then Denver, you got Russell Wilson. You know what to expect from Russell Wilson. He's got some playmakers on offense. I like a lot on their defense. But it's a young and inexperienced coaching staff. So how much it's a little bit of an uncertainty there. I keep going back for it. I'll tell you, I want to pick the Chargers. I picked the Chargers to be a surprise team last year. I want the Chargers to be, I should say, I want to pick them. It's just giving the slight edge to the Chiefs just a little bit. But there's a lot to like in that Chargers team. There really is. All right, so your picks, hit us up with some text, tweets, or Facebook messages. In case you missed it, in the first hour, we talked to some green and gold, some Packers news yesterday. I don't know how much, Rob DeMassio, our good friend Rob from ESPN, covers the Packers, had a one-on-one with David Bakhtiari yesterday. And kind of some optimism that David Bakhtiari is going to be on the field week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings. He did tell Rob that after training camp, after the training camp practice, he was elevated to 11 on 11 drills, team drills, instead of just the individual ones. So he's been working with team drills. Kind of seems like maybe he's surpassed Elton Jenkins in terms of who's going to come back first. But, after that article was out that Rob posted, David Bakhtiari retweeted, said, "I'm just taking it one day at a time," with the gif of GIF, whatever, the Joker saying, "Let's not blow things out of proportion." So, yeah, we'll see. But wouldn't that be something? David Bakhtiari out on the field. Lord knows that we would love to have Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins on the line, on the edges there, going up against Zadarius Smith and Hunter. We'll really deep dive into that preview later on this week, but we'll find out some injury or some injuries. We won't know game designations till Friday, but tomorrow, Wednesday, we will kind of finally find out what's going on with Allen Lazard. He's dealing with something. Elton Jenkins, they say it's not his knee. If you remember last week, he missed a practice, but it wasn't his knee. He had a shoulder brace on, but he said it wasn't shoulder, so don't know, but maybe get a little bit more clarity. But the Allen Lazard one is starting to concern me just a little bit. And maybe they're just taking it slow with him because they know he's like the number one guy. And they know, they got confidence in him. And they just want to make sure that he's going to be ready to go on Sunday. So maybe if it's like, I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there. Pure speculation. Maybe he twisted his ankle. All right, well, take it slow. We're not going to try to make it worse or anything like that. You're our number one guy. We need you. We trust you that you're going to be ready for week 1 and that sort of thing. Maybe. That's best case scenario. But we'll find out a little bit more tomorrow when those injuries, when we first start to get a glimpse of the injury reports. Because right now, since it's regular season, Matt LaFleur has been very coy about it. Doesn't have to tell anybody what the injuries are until those injury reports do come out. So far on the texting, it's about 50-50 between the Chiefs and the Chargers. Got quite a few of you texting in. Chiefs, Chargers, 50-50 right now. Kind of figured that's how it would go. All right, we got 2 hours in already on this busy Tuesday. Coming up next, Bench Start Cut. New segment we're going to do on every Tuesday, all right? Stick around. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. Sports Talk 105.1 with the very latest local news.
One person is safe after getting their car stuck on a levee in La Crosse. First responders called the Riverside Park shortly before 5:30 yesterday, where they found that car stuck on the edge of a levee with a person inside. Other than where the car crashed through the barriers, though, there appears to be no other apparent damage. Well, it was wheels down on Air Force One yesterday, and President Biden met with some heckling from the crowd. The messages he brought with him in Wisconsin included saying not every Republican is a MAGA Republican.
The extreme MAGA Republicans in Congress have chosen to go backwards, full of anger, violence, hate, and division. But together, we can and we must choose a different path.
And went on to cheer on American workers, highlighting union gains.
Today, unions in this country have the support, whether they're union members or not, of over 60% of the American people. Never before has unions been that popular.
Away from the political stage, we look at headlines that stretch across our state. And scammers are now aiming to use the pending student loan forgiveness plans to get money out of you. Michelle Reenan with the State Consumer Protection Division says you should be wary of something like links in your email, right?
If you get an email that claims to look like it's coming from your borrower, and they ask you to click a link to do an update or verify information, know that scammers impersonate these borrowers and lenders all the time.
As you should instead be contacting your lender yourself and ensure that the update is accurate or needed. Well, a brand new cruise ship has visited La Crosse for the first time. The Viking Mississippi is a luxury liner measuring 450 feet long and can hold nearly 400 passengers. It left St. Paul, Minnesota, September 3rd, docked at Riverside Park yesterday. It's a 15-day cruise that's next headed to St. Louis, Missouri, with a final destination of New Orleans. Continuing to cruise across headlines, the Wisconsin Elections Commission is asking lawmakers and the governor to create a new inspector general position. Megan Wolf is the administrator of the Wisconsin Elections Commission, saying on Capital City Sunday,
somebody that understands how to research things, how to find answers to questions, and how to utilize expertise about elections, and also understands how to communicate complex subject matter to the public.
Wolf is asking for $1.3 million to staff a 10-person inspector general's office over the next 2 years. Says they would improve the commission's ability to handle data requests, allegations of election law violations, and increase the number of audits. Let's go to the dogs. Literally. Oh, Dolly, what do we know?
Singer announced her collection called Doggy Parton, saying Puppy Love was my very first record, and 6 decades later, my love for pets is stronger than ever. The Doggy Parton line includes pink cowgirl hats, denim and gingham bandanas, pink harnesses and leashes, Dolly Parton band shirts, and more. Dolly added that part of the proceeds will support the Willa Bee Farms Animal Rescue. Doggy Parton products are now available on Amazon and in online stores coming soon. I'm Michael Kastner.
I feel like it's fair to tell Kasper that this was originally part of his new merch idea. I looked at the sketches he made for Sports Talk in the Dan Kasper Show, and
includes pink cowgirl hats, denim and gingham bandanas, pink harnesses and leashes, and band shirts, and more.
For Sports Talk 105.1, I'm Morgan McCarthy.
After enjoying a beautiful Labor Day, we'll start off today mostly into the mid-50s. A few areas may have some patchy fog, but we'll have more sunshine to get us through the day today, with temperatures once again climbing to the upper 70s, making for a rather comfortable afternoon. Later on tonight, partly cloudy conditions will work in, with temperatures dipping to the upper 50s and low 60s, and this will set up a much warmer stretch of temperatures heading our way, mostly into the mid to upper 80s over the next few days. I'm Skywarn 13 meteorologist Mike Dandria.
What's something you can't get for $14.99? The mountain of snacks you need for a weekend of football. Something you can get for $14.99? A month of unlimited car washes at Clean and Classy. Something you can't do in 5 minutes? Eat all of those mini hot dogs, even if you try. Something you can do in 5 minutes? Get a spring clean car at Clean and Classy on West Claremont and off Hastings on Brackett Avenue. Wash your car more than once a month? A monthly pass is going to save you money. Make your car clean and classy.
Whether it's the news, the traffic, the weather, or your COVID-19 vaccinations, it's important to stay up to date. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Welcome to the Dan Kasper Show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's the show that features serious, thought-provoking sports talk and insightful sports commentary.
You knew it.
In other words, it's the show where they all talk a crap load about sports.
Let's go for it.
Now let's introduce your host, a man who lives and breathes and has a passion for sports. A man who breaks everything down in the sports world and gives you everything you need to know. Plus a bunch of stuff you probably don't need, but you'll still enjoy it.
You can't handle the truth.
Here is your host, Dan Kasper.
Prime time. Prime time.
Final hour kicking off on this Grind My Gears Tuesday. What are we going to call you guys? That's what Surveyor Sam wants to know. What nickname should we give you, our amazing listeners, our awesome family? Hit us up with some suggestions, and we're going to put it out to a vote. If we get a couple more. If we get a couple more, we'll put it out to a vote. All right? So hit us up either on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line with the text 715 830-1912 or on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. Coming up in about 10 minutes or so, we are going to catch up with RJ Cardinal. Badgers getting the victory against Illinois State. Badger football getting the victory against Illinois State 38-0. Now they take on Washington State this Saturday afternoon. So we'll recap that game against Illinois State and look ahead to Washington State with RJ Cardinal coming up in about 15 minutes or so. We begin the third hour with a new segment, Bench, Start, Cut. I'm going to have to come up with some music or some like intro and that sort of thing. But so I'm going to do a little bit of a fantasy football theme to this, okay? Now that we're getting ready for the season, I'm assuming a lot of drafts are already, kind of done, or maybe you're getting ready to do another one today and tomorrow and such. But looking at the running backs, and I'm kind of going with the average here. The top 3 running backs that have been taken in fantasy football drafts. So you've got Jonathan Taylor, JT. You've got Christian McCaffrey. And then you've got, let's go. So there's kind of been a little bit back and forth. I'm going to go Derrick Henry. Otherwise, you did have Austin Eckler on there too. But I'm going to go Derrick Henry. So you have to bench, you have to start, and you have to cut one between Taylor, McCaffrey, and Derrick Henry. I want all of you to play along. Who do you start? Who do you bench? Who do you cut? Okay? Those are your 3 choices between those 3. Oh, man. And part of the reason, too, that I'm picking, or that's tough for me, I look at the Titans. And you look at their team. They moved on from A.J. Brown. Julio Jones isn't there. Yes, they drafted Burks. But they've got Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, kind of up in the air. So they want to run the ball, right? Run the ball. Mike Vrabel, run the ball. That's all he wants to do, run the ball. So everybody knows that. Can they stop it? They haven't been able to the last couple of years. But remember Derrick Henry, suffered an injury last year. Did come back at the end, but at some point, you kind of start to wonder about wear and tear. At some point, you'd think, right? is that this year, though, with Derrick Henry. He's still a mountain of a man. Still a beast. So, and then you've got Christian McCaffrey, who has, battled some injuries throughout his history or throughout his career. Is this a year that, he could finish out a full season? When you look at his numbers, Christian McCaffrey, last year just played in 7 games. The year prior, 3 games. The 3 years before that, he started or played in every single game, 16, 16, 16. But the last couple of years, been banged up. So, a little bit uncertainty maybe there too. Still only 26. And then you got Jonathan Taylor heading into this year with the Colts. I mean, he has been probably like number one for a lot. I won't say all, but for the majority of drafts out there, he has been like the number one pick. And any Badger fans probably not, like, oh, finally Jonathan Taylor now getting some respect. His rookie year rushed for over 1,000 yards. Last year led the league nearly 2,000. Rushed for over 1,800 yards. But he's shown his ability in the receiving department too. So I think for me, my start, I'm going JT, Jonathan Taylor. My bench, I guess until he proves me wrong, or until he actually shows some signs that he's going to, kind of fall down and wear and tear, I think bench, I'll go Derrick Henry and cut Christian McCaffrey. But when Christian McCaffrey, if he could stay healthy and if he can, be on that field, that guy's a difference maker. He can do a boatload of stuff for that offense. Receiving, running the ball. His 2019 year was nuts. Rushed for over 1,300 yards. Was over 1,000-yard receiver. But I don't know. Can he stay healthy enough to do that? But if I have to pick right now, I'm going start Jonathan Taylor, bench Derrick Henry, cut Christian McCaffrey. Well, we got a couple of texts coming up here. Big Spence. What up, Big Spence? Start JT, bench Derrick Henry, cut CMC. Okay, same. The Honorable Travis from A-Town. Start Taylor. He's a thoroughbred with young legs. Bench Henry, still a beast. Close to the cliff with wear and tear. Cut McCaffrey, too much uncertainty with all the injuries. Travis from A-Town. All right, same up there too. How about the rest of you? What do you got? Start, bench, cut. Fantasy football running back edition. Hit us up with those texts or tweets or Facebook messages, okay? As we mentioned, we're going to catch up with RJ Cardinal here in just a little bit. I see the fine folks at Good Morning Football are making their division winner, their NFC playoff picks and their AFC playoff picks. So far, Jason McCourty and Jamie Erdahl have not picked the Packers to win the division. McCourty picked the Packers to be a wild card team, but Jamie Erdahl has not picked the Packers to make the postseason. Did go with the Cardinals, though, which is kind of interesting. So, Peter Schrager, though, did pick the Packers to win the division, so doesn't have Minnesota going to the postseason. I think Minnesota is a playoff team. I think I would pick Minnesota over Arizona. I would pick Minnesota over Arizona. Maybe the one team. Who do you think would be the one team that's a little overrated? That maybe they're getting too much pub, too much hype. That you don't think it's like, I'm just not buying it. I think Tampa makes the postseason. I really like that defense that they got. But I'm a little concerned on their offensive line with all the injuries. And you got, a 45-year-old Tom Brady back there. He's still Tom Brady. But, it's like, is he going to be able to get the ball out in time if you're going up against a team that has a very capable pass rush and able to get after the quarterback? Yeah, he's got weapons on the outside. But I don't know. Tampa, and it could, I've done this with the Patriots for how many years now? Like, oh, this is going to be the year they finally don't make it, or they don't win the division, or they don't win a Super Bowl, I should say. Yet it's Brady and Belichick, who always was. So I don't know. I'm a little. I think Tampa Bay will. I'm intrigued with the Saints, but I'm not sold on Jameis Winston. So I think Tampa Bay still wins their division, but I don't know about a Super Bowl. I don't know if I'd pick them as the best team in the NFC. I know a lot of the betting lines have Tampa Bay as still the number one team in the NFC. Green Bay, depending again which betting lines you look at, a lot of them have Green Bay at 2. The Rams are still up there, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of Eagles too. I just think with Jalen Hurts, I know we got Philly fan Dave out there. To me, the biggest question mark is Jalen Hurts. But I agree with what Peter King said last hour too. If you kind of look at it with the NFC, there really isn't maybe one team that you just like, oh yeah, they love. Like a lot of people in the AFC, for the AFC side of things, Buffalo is that team. Love Buffalo. Buffalo. Super Bowl pick, MVP pick with Josh Allen. A lot of love for Buffalo. I don't feel like there's that one team in the NFC. Like Peter said, like a lot of teams, but maybe don't love a particular team or a couple teams out there. I can buy that. I definitely can. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll move on over to some college football chat. Badgers getting the victory against Illinois State on Saturday. As we mentioned, too, Blue Gold starting their season off with a win against Loras, as you probably heard on the radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. But let's chat some Badger football, recap that victory against Illinois State. What can we take away from that game, if anything? What do you take away from a game like that? We'll ask RJ that and then look ahead to this matchup against Washington State. So, all right, quick break. And we'll be back with some Badger football chat after these quick words.
The Dan Kasper Show will be right back.
The VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue in Eau Claire, where breakfast is served 7 days a week, 7 to 11 a.m. Make sure to come on Wednesdays for great specials on burgers and wings. And if you're looking for a Friday fish fry, look no further. Try the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue. After the Friday fish fry, stay for karaoke from 9 to 1 a.m. Sundays from 2:30 to 6:30 p.m., the DJ plays your favorite oldies hits. VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue in Eau Claire, where no one does more for veterans and their community.
If you own a business, this has been a bumpy ride from pandemic to inflation, and we could all use a break. If your business has 5 or more employees and managed to survive COVID, you could be eligible to receive a payroll tax rebate of up to $26,000 per employee. It's not a loan, it's a refund of your taxes. The challenge is getting your hands on it. Go to getrefunds.com. The team of tax attorneys they have put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program, and they've already returned $1 billion to businesses, and they can help you too. They do all the work. They don't charge you up front. They simply share a percentage of the cash that they get for you. Businesses of all types can qualify, including those who took PPPs, nonprofits, even those that had increases in sales. Find out if your business qualifies. Go to getrefunds.com, click on Qualify Me, and answer a few questions. This payroll tax refund is only available for a limited amount of time, so don't miss out. Go to getrefunds.com. Good luck.
You want to be awesome like The Miz? You want to be a champion like me? Whether your game is wrestling or sports betting, you are going to need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook wants you to have fun while staying responsible. so they provide you with all the tools you need to build your personal betting game plan. My Finale lets everyone know when my matches are finished, and time limits in the app let you know how long you've spent and when it's time for a break. You can also control the maximum amount you'd like to place on any single bet by using DraftKings Sportsbook wager limits. And if you ever find yourself needing to hit pause, you can use the cooling off period to lock the app for up to 4 weeks. I practice safe bets, and so should you. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn about all these tools and more.
Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Keep your feet warm and dry this winter with the Shoe Doctor in Eau Claire. Only the Shoe Doctor has over 4,500 styles of footwear and personalized fitting for everyone in your family. It's backed by the Shoe Doctor's exclusive 30-day comfort guarantee, so you know you'll walk away happy. The selection, brands, sizes, widths, service, and prices that fit just right. Come see for yourself at the Shoe Doctor. Easy to find. 2321 Claremont near Fairfax in Eau Claire.
Because you have high standards and won't settle for anything less, like your wife did. It's the Dan Kasper Show.
Badger football started off their season blanking Illinois State 38-0. They covered. So I know that's kind of something we were talking a little bit about last week. Now up, though, is Washington State. So let's recap the game from Illinois State and look ahead to Washington State with our Badger analyst, Mr. RJ Cardinal. RJ, with a game like that, I mean, we look at the numbers, Graham Mertz, 14 of 16, over 200 yards. Allen, over 100 yards rushing, couple of touchdowns, shutting out Illinois State. What can we take away from a game like that, knowing who the opponent was, too? I mean, you got to factor that into this whole thing. So what do you take away from this game?
Well, it is one of those. You're still having Graham Mertz. There were no real egregious passes that we saw that could have been intercepted or things like that. So you like seeing the 14 of 16 and being only the second quarterback in program history with 2 games above 88% in completion percentage, or 88 or above. And you like seeing that. You like his 1 touchdown, his play to Chimere Dike for the long 74 yards was a nice addition. I mean, I've already seen people posting on Twitter. You take away the 74-yard pass, you take away the 96-yard run, you take away the 100-yard interception return for a touchdown, and this team was not anywhere near looking good. And I'm like, okay, so we take away all the good stuff. I mean, you take away the bad stuff too, and you know what? Illinois State doesn't gain a yard. Right. It's like, I mean, you take the good with the bad, and some of the big plays that Illinois State had, that their drive chart, when you look at their second drive, that 71 yards that resulted in the interception return for a touchdown. We've seen this from Wisconsin before. They have had some defensive issues when they give up a big chunk of yards, but once you get in the red zone, they were one of the top defenses in the country in not allowing points in the red zone last year, and we saw that again in the one time they allowed Illinois State into the red zone. And I mean, heck, even Illinois State was auditioning for the Big Ten when they punted from the Wisconsin 30. It was one of those where you're like, oh, hey, they're one of us. They know how to play Big Ten football. But it's still something. You saw Wisconsin cruise to a win. I think the spread ended up being 36.5. So they covered that with a 38-0 win. You like to see the shutout there, even after you got the second stringers in. I guess there's only one major injury where we saw Hunter Wooler go down, and then in his press conference yesterday, I think it was, I think Paul Chris said he was going to be out some time there. So, only the starting O-line gave up 2 sacks, but this is also an O-line that we've talked about where only one person is playing the position they were in last year, and that's Tippmann at center. Other than that, everybody else has been moved around, so it's a good first game, I think, to kind of just ease into things, if you will. And we saw some good things from the offense, and then defensively, I think that Nick Herbig seemed pretty upset about the way they played. So hopefully that'll change and you start seeing some things get tightened up here this week versus Washington State. But yeah, overall, still one of those games. Not a lot can be taken from this, because this could be a game that we even took lightly, looking forward towards our first FBS opponent.
The one thing I wanted to ask you too, and maybe it's still a little bit of an unknown, but do you think we learned anything from what style of offense Ingram's going to call with this, or maybe we'll get a better glimpse against Washington State, or maybe we won't even know until Ohio State? Did we get any sort of glimpse then, and what would be the theme for Ingram when he calls plays this year?
I don't think so. Watching it myself, I felt like I was still watching some of the same stuff we've seen under Paul Chris. And, if you can just continue with that currently and win games doing that, like we talked last week, don't show any of the new wrinkles. Don't really show anything if anything new actually was indeed added. We'll find out at some point in time this year, because the schedule does get a little stronger starting, I would say, this week. But then you'll dip down to the number 129 or 130, depending on where you're looking, ranked team in New Mexico State the following week. But yeah, then you dive into Big Ten play. So I really don't think we should be seeing too much of the difference in game plan, at least on the offensive side of the ball versus Washington State. But I'm not sure we saw really anything new. And it didn't really stick out to me on something to be like, oh, well, that's something we'd never seen before. Maybe actually at least starting to look like they were going for it at the end of the half, up until they decided not to, was something that, heck, I think last year we would have just seen a knee getting taken right away, but at least they tried moving the ball for a minute of the 2 minutes they had there. But ended up being taking a knee near midfield. So maybe a little more aggressive on things, but not so much of things I actually noted.
Mm-hmm. So Washington State comes to town on Saturday. They just squeaked by Idaho in their game on Saturday, 24-17. They actually fell behind 10-0 early in the first, tied it up in the second there. But when you look at this and you look at some of the numbers, I mean, Cameron Ward, their quarterback, threw for 215, 3 touchdowns. Nikhil Watson, 18 carries, 117 yards. When you look at this Washington, I still think Washington State is Coach Leach over there, and I know it's a little bit different now. But what does Washington, or what should we be watching for in this matchup against the Cougars when they come to Camp Randall?
Yeah, they're still running some sort of version of the air raid. So I mean that's what you're going to expect. They had 40 pass attempts to their 25 carries. So carries are going to be limited. I think we can probably see a game plan a little like Wisconsin ran versus Purdue last year, where you have more guys dropping back and you're not as aggressive on the ground game. And who knows? I mean, we've seen Nikhil Watson. He is a pretty darn good back. He just was getting buried on a depth chart here and got passed over. So that could change on what we see them in their coverage there. But I think it's definitely going to be a more, because if I'm remembering correctly, that Purdue game, we had a lot of guys dropping back into pass coverage and running more zones than anything really. And we kind of slowed down that passing attack. And I mean, outside of Nakia Watson's 117, he didn't score any touchdowns. They had 3 passing touchdowns. And so on the rushing side, there were no scores, and he only contributed 2 catches on the receiving side. So who knows? Maybe we see something open up for them, but it's not really a new coach. They just had a guy replace their coach last year midseason, and now he's the full-time head coach. So there's not too much of a philosophy difference there, I think. But so it'll be something where we see a little of a FBS version, I think, of what we were supposed to see versus Illinois State, a more spread, where the running backs will be involved, but definitely a pass first offense. And hopefully you have your secondary, at least your cornerbacks, being able to limit their big plays. That's where we saw most of this the stuff, the new cornerbacks getting tested a lot.
RJ, with I guess now, can we finally say week 1 is in the books after that whole week 0 thing and weird stuff like that? I mean, we had, Florida upsetting Utah, Notre Dame, Ohio State, 21-10, maybe a little closer than some people thought. But then, you had some other games that were just complete blowouts here. If you had to make a hot take after week 1, what would it be?
Ooh, hot take, it might be more of an 8-4 team. Watching some of it, it was a little frustrating, and you go back and you look at the drive chart, and I think it felt worse watching it in person, because there were a couple of chunks of yards that, they're picking up 10, 15 yards on a play. But then you go back and look at the drive chart after that 71-yard drive that resulted in no point. Their longest drive was 45 yards that they ended in a punt, So I think being there live and just seeing it was one of those, man, they are not that good this year on the defensive side of the ball. But once you dive into the numbers wise and where the field position was and all that, and at that 45-yard drive is the one that resulted in the punt from Wisconsin 30. So, I mean, that's how good of a kicker Illinois State has in terms of for field goals. But, they did okay outside of that one drive. So 71 of their, whatever, I forget, 2 something that they gave up total. So it came on that one drive. But, I mean, when they run 5 plays on that first drive, and we've talked about it before, I'm pretty sure they still run a scripted defense for the first X amount of plays, and I'm not sure what that is, but I think whatever, they're just testing things out, and there's some teams you can't do that against, and there's teams you can do that against, and I think that's really what was going on that longer drive that ate up 8 minutes. So I mean, what they had is almost 12 minutes of 15 in that first quarter. So that was a little worrisome right away. But the drastic thing is, I'm thinking it's more of an 8-4 team than we see at 9-3 or 10-2.
Back to the Notre Dame Ohio State game, RJ. I know this was a matchup between 2 top 5 teams, two for Ohio State, 5 for Notre Dame. But I almost feel like, kind of reading some of the headlines afterwards, like more people were like, oh, this was, kind of feeling good about Notre Dame because maybe they didn't get blown out by Ohio State. Are you kind of getting that grasp too, that maybe there's a better feeling about Notre Dame, even though they did lose to Ohio State in this game?
Yeah, it seems that way, but it's especially from their defensive side of the ball, I think, because you look at everything that Ohio State brought back on paper, and everybody's talking about their 3 legitimate guys going for the Heisman Trophy this year, and you had a Notre Dame defense that, they lost All-American and lost some other starters, and they did a pretty darn good job of holding. It sounds odd to say, but holding that such a high-powered offense to only 395 yards and only 21 points. So for what you saw, what was the spread on that? Like 17, 16 and a half, something like that. To have that kind of defensive performance from Notre Dame, I think that's what we're going to see be their calling card again. And I mean, heck, that's what happened against Wisconsin. Wisconsin was well into that game into the fourth quarter until Notre Dame's defense took over, gave Notre Dame's offense some good field position as well as a pick six. And I still think Notre Dame's offense needs to come around because 10 points against an Ohio State defense that's lost a lot too, and a defense that wasn't that good last year. It's Notre Dame's defense will keep them in and win them some games this year because I think their schedule gets a little softer after this Ohio State game, if I remember correctly. Where, heck, North Carolina has no defense. They play Cal, Marshall this weekend. Then your next biggest game, I guess, is Clemson in November, and then USC at the end of the year. Other than that, it's not that impressive of a schedule, depending on your view of BYU. It'll be interesting to see Notre Dame, what their record is going into that Clemson game on November 5th. But, I mean, heck, they could only still have one loss by the time that game rolls around.
RJ Cardinal joining us here this morning, chatting some Badger football and college football. I know this is a few days old here, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it. With the news college football playoff, it's going to expand into a 12-team format in 2026, but it is encouraging the commissioners to try to implement it as soon as 2024. I know we've talked off and on about, expansions and playoff expansion, but what's that perfect number for you, RJ? Is it 12? Is it 8? Is it some other number? Do you like the move that they're going to go with 12?
Yeah, I like the more teams, and heck, I mean, every other division of football has 16, I think. So, I mean, you take away some regular season games, I guess, but I mean, I don't think that'll happen in the FBS. Does it diminish more bowl games? Yeah, but we've also talked about it. Now those are pretty much just glorified exhibition games anyway, and there's proposals to have the bowl games move to the beginning of the year and have more like we saw. The Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic is what last night was called in Clemson and Georgia Tech. So it's stuff that's happened before. It's just you move the bowl games to the beginning of the year. But we'll see what that turns into too. But I like 12. I think it's I don't want to call it a compromise, but it's a number that still allows you to have the 12 games a year and go into a playoff where your top four seeds, I think they said, get a bye. And I think I saw some people doing, works on how many times certain teams would have been in. I think Wisconsin would have been in, it was like 7 or 8 times into the college football playoff had there been 12 teams at the time. So I'm all for it. Let's get more teams in there. You can have it be more like a March Madness kind of thing. And I've even seen people like not being happy with the expansion because it waters everything down. I'm like, and they're talking about only X amount of teams have a true chance of winning it, so you're watering down this whole thing. And I'm like, I mean, that's like saying really on a year-to-year basis, there's only probably a handful of teams that have a shot of winning the NCAA tournament for basketball, and yet we have 68 teams in there, and crazy stuff happens all the time. So, granted, football is a little different, but I still I like it, and it's going to make people more money. So it was bound to happen at some point in time or another.
Do you think it'll expand more?
Not too much. I think we could possibly see it get to 16 teams, just because, I mean, FCS, Division II, Division III, all have that model in there. But, I mean, I think some of it would come at a price on your regular season games, and I'm not sure too many athletic departments would be willing to give up, home games in order to have a shot at being one of 16 teams.
Well, before I let you go here, RJ, I know today's kind of your day, really. I mean, it's your day. It's your birthday, isn't it? From my sources,
yeah.
My sources tell me that it is your birthday here. So I was gonna play a little birthday song for you. Yeah.
Oh well, thank you.
I mean, what, 21 years old, or how old are you? I mean, what?
Yeah, let's go with 21.
Oh, hey, how was the environment? I forgot to ask you this on Saturday night for your birthday, or for the game. How was because it looked a little bit different.
I was actually a little surprised. Yeah. It's odd how the new south end zone really didn't look that out of place. It was like, I don't know if it's because I've seen so many updates from the south end zone and it just looked normal. But, it wasn't a jarring difference from what the end zone looked like before, even though it kind of was. But the students got in there before the end of the first quarter. It seemed relatively full, even though, we had rain for most of the morning. It cleared out by like 2. So, I mean, shouldn't have been that big of a factor, but I can still see some people who are like, meh, bad weather day. The team that's in there isn't that great. I don't want to go into Madison at night and have to be back home, depending on how far you come from after midnight, depending on where you're going, But yeah, it was a decent crowd in Camp Randall. Not too many empty seats, at least from what it looks like, but I mean, when you put a red seat back on something, it blends in and doesn't make things look as empty anyway. So, but yeah, the atmosphere seemed to be in a mid-season kind of Big Ten form. So we'll see what happens with the 2:30 games here the next 2 weeks. Also against opponents people don't call quote unquote sexy. So
right.
Yeah. But I thought it went well for the first game against a very inferior opponent.
Good deal. Well, hey, enjoy the rest of your birthday, bud, and we appreciate you chatting with us here, and let's do it again next week, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. We'll see you then.
You got it. There you go. There's RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, joining us here this morning. We got to take our final break. Cruising on by here this morning. We'll wrap things up in just a few minutes.
You're listening to the Dan Kasper Show.
What's something you can't get for $14.99? The mountain of snacks you need for a weekend of football. Something you can get for $14.99? A month of unlimited car washes at Clean and Classy. Something you can't do in 5 minutes? Eat all of those mini hot dogs, even if you try. Something you can do in 5 minutes? Get a spring clean car at Clean and Classy on West Claremont and off Hastings on Brackett Avenue. Wash your car more than once a month? A monthly pass is going to save you money. Make your car clean and classy.
Get ready to save with half-off deals. A great way for you to get goods and services that you will love and you don't have to pay full price. Be sure to check out all the great savings that half-off deals have to offer. There's something for everyone, so be sure to see for yourself. Be ready with your credit or debit card and get ready to save. For more details and to find out about all the savings, just go to aroundthe715.com. What's the special today?
Well, I've got half-price geofencing with a side of SEO, double bubble on all PPC, and 50% off all OTT CTV contracts.
Sound familiar when you were looking for marketing options? Are vendors selling you their tactics rather than your solutions? Then let the marketing mixologists at Midwest Family Eau Claire come to the rescue. Midwest Family Eau Claire isn't about hitting their sales quotas. They're about helping you hit yours. Go to MidwestFamilyEauClaire.com today and find out how their integrated marketing solutions make just the right marketing cocktail for you. MidwestFamilyEauClaire.com.
If you own a business, this has been a bumpy ride from pandemic to inflation, and we could all use a break. If your business has 5 or more employees and managed to survive COVID, you could be eligible to receive a payroll tax rebate of up to $26,000 per employee. It's not a loan, it's a refund of your taxes. The challenge is getting your hands on it. Go to getrefunds.com. The team of tax attorneys they have put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program, and they've already returned $1 billion to businesses, and they can help you too. They do all the work. They don't charge you up front. They simply share a percentage of the cash that they get for you. Businesses of all types can qualify, including those who took PPPs, nonprofits, even those that had increases in sales. Find out if your business qualifies. Go to getrefunds.com, click on Qualify Me, and answer a few questions. This payroll tax refund is only available for a limited amount of time, so don't miss out. Go to getrefunds.com. Good luck.
You want to be awesome like The Miz? You want to be a champion like me? Whether your game is wrestling or sports betting, you are going to need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook wants you to have fun while staying responsible. So they provide you with all the tools you need to build your personal betting game plan. My Finale lets everyone know when my matches are finished. And time limits in the app let you know how long you've spent and when it's time for a break. You can also control the maximum amount you'd like to place on any single bet by using DraftKings Sportsbook wager limits. And if you ever find yourself needing to hit pause, you can use the cooling off period to lock the app for up to 4 weeks. I practice safe bets, and so should you. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn about all these tools and more.
Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/responsible gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
So hot in here. Oh, is that what it's like in your living, dining, or any other room in your home or office? Then you need to talk with the experts at Auto Trim in Eau Claire. Yes, Auto Trim still does remote start, seat heaters, and other cool stuff for your vehicle, but they also do window tints for your home or auto. In fact, Auto Trim has been helping the Chippewa Valley for over 40 years. When it's so hot in here, in your home or office, you've got to call Auto Trim of Eau Claire for new window tinting.
Need to hire? Find great people fast with Indeed. Their end-to-end hiring solutions helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Whether you're working in an office or remote, Staples has your tech. New AirPods so I can turn up the music and tune out distractions. Staples has your tech.
A Wi-Fi extender for faster downloads? A portable keyboard so I can work from anywhere.
Staples has you covered with tech solutions and accessories, from the latest laptops to networking solutions. And now Apple AirPods Pro are just $199. You save $50. The latest tech solutions are at Staples, the working and learning store, in-store and online. Ends 9/10, limit 2 while supplies last.
He may not be the smartest sports talk host, but darn it, he gives 110% every time. Now here's your host, Dan Kasper.
Wrapping things up here on this Tuesday morning. Brewers will be back in action tonight, 7:40. Brandon Woodruff on the mound. Brewers win today. They'll win the series against Colorado, hopefully going for a sweep tomorrow before returning home for a doubleheader against the Giants on Thursday, and then a weekend series against the Reds in Milwaukee. Not quite sure if Green Bay is going to be doing any practice today. Not quite sure if it's a normal game week, if they're treating it as a normal game week. I know Sunday and all that, but it's week 1, so things could be a little bit up there. But usually they would have like Tuesday's kind of an off day sort of thing, so could be a little bit different. I don't know off the top of my head, but tomorrow we should get some injury or know a little bit more about the injuries to some of these players like Alan Lazard and Elton Jenkins and such. But yeah, it's a couple days away from the opener between Buffalo and the Rams, and then it's here, people. Finally here. Football week, kickoff week. Big thanks to Peter King for joining us here this morning to break it down. Going to have some more guests throughout this week for kickoff week. Keep posted on that. Maybe some surprise stuff there too. But kind of hard to believe. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's necessarily hit me yet that the NFL season starts in 2 days. Like the actual regular season, like games that matter. I don't know if it's actually hit me yet. And maybe it won't hit me until Sunday when you see Green Bay and Minnesota on the field together. But we'll break down that game a little bit more detail later on in the week. Okay. So, all right. Some other stuff to catch up on. We had, I see Devontae Adams. I haven't read it yet. I know somebody had sent this to me in a text. I haven't read it yet, but there's an article. I think he's on the cover of ESPN, the magazine, Devontae Adams. And Devontae Adams finds his bliss en route to the Las Vegas Raiders. So I haven't read it. I don't know if there's any nuggets in there about Green Bay or anything like that, so I couldn't tell you. But somebody did send it to me and asked if I had read it, but I have not. So I'll probably check it out a little bit later on today. But other things on the docket here. Don't forget to get your picks in for the Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge and the Survivor League. That's all up on our website. You don't want to miss. First game's already up on Thursday. So don't forget, get those picks in. Don't want to fall behind because difference could be just by one game. ESPN has their breakout players, injuries to watch for each team, impact newcomer, fantasy breakout candidate, bold prediction. Here's what they got for Green Bay. Breakout player, Alan Lazard. Injury to watch, David Bakhtiari. No big surprises, right? Impact newcomer, Sammy Watkins. Fantasy breakout candidate, Romeo Doubs. Bold prediction for 2022. A.J. Dillon will lead the Packers in rushing yards. In an offense leaning on the run game, look for Dillon to emerge as the lead ball carrier this season. 6 foot, 247 pound back, can hammer the ball between the tackles. With the footwork to scoop past defenders, he'll see the necessary volume to push past Aaron Jones in rushing totals. Buy that one? Here's the thing. I wouldn't be surprised if A.J. Dillon will lead the Packers in rushing yards this year. And I think mostly because Aaron Jones, I think, is going to have more receiving yards and maybe be more involved in the receiving department. And to kind of wrap it up for a little, here's the thing. I don't think we really know what to expect from this offense yet. We've been talking about it all offseason. We'll finally get a first glimpse of it on Sunday. But really, we don't know what to expect. You look at the last couple years, or ever since Matt LaFleur has been the play caller for Green Bay. First year, we saw some jet sweeps. We saw more motion than we had ever seen in a Green Bay offense in a long time. McCarthy wasn't big on motion. Rodgers wasn't big on motion. They incorporated it. We saw some jet sweeps. We haven't really seen jet sweeps a whole lot, right? Not as much as we did in the first year. And maybe that was just kind of a way to, breaking in a new offense and still kind of adapting to it and that sort of thing. In the last couple of years, the offense, we've seen Aaron Jones. We've seen Devontae Adams for sure. This year, it's going to be a little bit different, I think, too. You're going to have a lot of the same stuff in it, same concepts. But for the most part, we don't know what to really expect. We don't know how it's going to go. We can't gauge anything off of preseason, maybe a little bit in training camp practices if you're able to watch some. But there's going to be some new wrinkles that we don't know, that Minnesota may not know, and really 31 other teams in the NFL may not know. And that's the exciting thing. It's exciting if it works out. If it doesn't work out, it's like, oh, crap. But that's an intriguing part with this whole team, with the back-to-back reigning MVP, 4-time total, and we don't know what really to expect with this offense. A little intrigue there. But I think that's because you might see Aaron Jones more involved in a passing game where maybe he doesn't rush for over 1,000 yards, but hey, maybe he has, 700 receiving yards. A.J. Dillon, maybe he has 900 rushing yards and Aaron Jones has the 800, but kind of a split between the rushing and the receiving. Do you think there will be a receiver on this Packers team that will eclipse 1,000 yards? Can Allen Lazard do that? I think that's going to be the fascinating thing to me, is just seeing if we truly do see Aaron spread the ball out more this year. Or is he going to start to hone in, and maybe they start out that way, but what if something's not going right? And does he kind of start to hone in on one guy in particular because something's not working out? Can he stay the course? Can he stay down that path? It's going to be interesting, too, to see how defenses play against Green Bay's offense this year, or at least initially. Are they going to come with the mindset of just trying to stop the run, loading up the box, playing one-on-one coverage with their corners against their wideouts? Essentially, all right, Aaron, let's test you. Let's see how much you do trust your receivers. We're going to give you a one-on-one coverage there, but we're going to load up the box and maybe bring a little pressure. Or do they still come in like that's Aaron freaking Rodgers yet? We still, it doesn't matter who he's throwing the ball to. We've got to be careful. So that's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait. Tomorrow, we'll continue our division preview. Take a look at a couple more divisions as we inch a little bit closer and closer to Thursday's opening kickoff. We'll play a little match game. We'll have some stock reports due as well. Did I say earlier? I think I just... See, this is where I'm getting my days mixed up. I think I said in the first hour that stock reports we usually do on Mondays. No, we usually do studs and duds. Man, my week's going to be messed up. So stock reports tomorrow. Those are due. If you got any, whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling. Think about that for a little bit. Hit us up. As I said, match game. We'll get to that too. We'll chat some Brewers. A little bit of Brewers. Hopefully they win so we can actually maybe talk about some positive things. Can they inch a little bit closer to a wild card pick game? Can they do that? And a bunch of other stuff we'll hit up on too. So we'll get to all that. And we'll have some more guests throughout the week as we are leading up to the start of the football season. So should be a lot of fun. I did see Rob Domofsky has a new article. I have not checked it out yet because it just dropped. But this looks intriguing. How a road trip with the Milwaukee Bucks helped Matt LaFleur's football education. Can't wait to dive into this thing. But yeah, apparently Matt LaFleur went on a little bit of a road trip with the Bucks this past season. So that should be Should be a good deep dive into there. Looking forward to that. Don't forget, last reminder, get your picks in. Sign up for the Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge and the Survivor League. Don't want to miss out on any picks. Get some trash talk going. You can win that if you win every week. I mean, hey, you have the right to trash talk amongst the rest of us. So show us your stuff. Show off your skills. Okay. Sign up and make those picks, and don't forget to make them every single week. That's going to do it for us on this Tuesday. Dan Patrick, Danettes, they're up next. Have a good one, people. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, just past 6 a.m. We will talk to you then.